I've known Sean probably maybe 3 or 4 years now.
From where?
He lives about 3 blocks away from me. I've met him through another friend that told me he worked on his vehicles before.
You did mechanical work?
Yes.
What kind of business are you in?
Construction, you name it, anything construction.
And you have a couple of trucks?
Yes.
How many?
I have one commercial vehicle, and then I just have a Chevy Avalanche.
The commercial vehicle, would you describe it to me? That's the one he was supposed to work on?
Yes.
Describe it to me, please.
It's a 16-foot box truck.
How old?
A 97.
1997.
Yes, ma'am.
It's as old as Sarah. And I suppose it needed a little work.
Yes.
And you took it to your friend.
Yes.
Did you drive it over there to his house 2 or 3 blocks away? Did you have it towed over to his place?
We had to have it towed over there. It was operable before.
But you had it towed?
Yes.
Yeah. And what month and year did you have it towed there?
I believe this started in June of 2020.
And Mr. Antel, you looked at it and you determined it needed a new engine.
Well, I looked at it. Actually, I did some work prior to that. The intake manifold gasket was...
You mean before June of 2020?
Yes.
And then the truck was running? Then he took back...
Running very crappy.
So it was not running well even after you fixed it?
After I put the intake gasket on, I had it started, it made the same noise. We decided to put an engine in it.
Okay, so it wasn't working after the initial work you did on it?
No.
Decided to put an engine in it. Now, how much was it to work on the engine?
He gave me a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. It was not all in one lump sum.
How much did he give you?
It was 100 here once, 100 here twice, a couple different times, you know.
How much money did you give him?
800.
How much did you quote him for the whole job?
1,000.
So he gave you 800, and according to the papers that Mr. Griniger filed, he also purchased an engine.
Yes.
And this was in June of 2020.
I didn't get the motor at my house until I'm trying to think. It was in the winter, it was in December.
Of 2020?
Yes, 2020, yep.
Do you have the date that you purchased the engine?
Yes.
What was it?
January 7th, 2021.
Okay, so the truck sat on his property for 6 months.
Yes.
Before you got the engine, which was needed to fix it.
Yes. He said it was the intake plenum.
Was that in June of 2020?
Yeah, that's when it began. That's the whole...
Okay. When did he tell you that you needed an engine? In what month? Do you recall?
That was in January.
So the truck sat there, and finally you told him that it needed a new engine, but it was already sitting there for months.
I told him 2 or 3 months prior to that.
Okay, so it was sitting there for 3 months or 4 months?
Yes.
And he'd already paid you the $800?
He gave me a little bit here and there, yes.
They already paid you the $800 towards the 1,000. So this is what the case is about. The truck has never been fixed. He doesn't have the engine anymore. He scrapped the engine according to him. So you want what you paid for it, the engine.
Yes, Your Honor.
First of all, Mr. Ansel said, well, he worked on another truck for you, a smaller truck, and so that ate up the $800. And you didn't come for the engine, and finally he just sold it for scrap. Mr. Antel, were you very busy during this period of time?
Not really, no.
Well, could you tell me why it took 3 months for you to tell him that he needed a new engine?
He knew after I put the plenum gasket back on. I called him on the phone.
What month?
It had to have been November, right before Thanksgiving.
So at the end of November. So you had the truck since June. June, July, August, September, October. You had the truck 6 months. Could you tell me why?
Why? I had problems with it. I couldn't get the bumper off. I couldn't do none of that.
Well, but that's your responsibility. You undertook a job.
Yeah, I took the job because he was supposed to help me, and he never did.
He was supposed to help you put in the new engine?
Help me get the bumper off, and then I had problems with the city of Brooklyn Center.
No. He was supposed to help you get the bumper off, and because you couldn't get the bumper off, you couldn't do the engine. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, because it was rusted
Shh.
out.
I've read your papers. I assume this is the mechanic that you say helped you work on another car for him that you gave money to?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why he's here.
Yep.
Okay. In what month and year did you fix this other car?
January
of 2021.
2022.
So in January 2022, the truck was where?
The Avalanche?
The big one.
At his house. At Mike
And
Griniger's.
he brought you another truck?
Yes.
Which other truck did he bring you
The
with?
Chevy Avalanche.
The big truck, the commercial truck, is now back at his house.
Yes.
And it went back to his house because they were going to tow it from the city.
Yes.
And you say in January, he then brought you a different truck.
Yes. Of 2022.
That you worked on.
Yeah. Completed it.
Just a second. Do you recall that, sir?
No, it's not exactly how it went.
Did you, in January of 2022, did you bring him, you had the big commercial truck back at your house because it had to be moved.
Yep.
You hadn't gotten your $800 back?
Nope.
And he still had the engine?
Yep.
In January of this year?
Yep.
So, yep is not an answer, yes is
sorry.
an answer. So, why, sir, under those circumstances, would you bring him another car to fix? You have a driver's license?
It's currently suspended.
How long has it been suspended?
Oh.
And he still had the engine?
Yep.
In January of this year?
Yep.
So, yep is not an answer, yes is
sorry.
an answer. So, why, sir, under those circumstances, would you bring him another car to fix?
Because then I had absolutely no transportation. I needed something to work.
Just a second, you have a big truck, you had a little truck. So the big truck is now immobile, it's at your house. And the only working vehicle that you had needed work on it.
Yes.
So you brought it to him?
Yep.
Not you. That's
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
And he worked on it?
Yes.
Because it was inoperable.
No, it was operable, but he told me that...
Not he told you. You didn't bring it to him because he told you you were having trouble with it.
Yes.
What kind of trouble were you having with it?
There was a grinding...
Oh, that's a big deal. Grinding sound.
Yes.
What parts did it need?
Well, he told me it was the transfer case.
Did he fix your truck?
Eventually, but it was the rear end.
Just a second. Eventually, did he fix... Take your hands out of your pockets. Did he fix the truck? The second one? The smaller one?
Yeah.
The one that you needed for
Yes,
transportation?
eventually, yes, he did put in a rear end.
Okay. Did you pay him for that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How much did you pay for that?
$300.
How long did he have it?
Oh, he did that within about a week.
2 days. 2 days.
Okay. So it took you 2 days?
Yes.
Did you give him a bill for that work?
I didn't give him nothing. Just a word of mouth.
He says that he gave you $300 to fix that car. Did he give you $300 to fix that car?
No, he did not.
Okay, do you have any
600
proof?
altogether.
Just a second. Would you please show me any proof that you have that you gave him $300 to fix that car?
I don't have proof of the money that I gave him. I just have the receipt.
He doesn't got it. Okay.
I just have the receipts for the parts that I bought for the vehicle.
Okay.
He first said it was the transfer case. I buy a transfer case.
Doesn't matter. He's working, so...
Yeah, but I paid him to do something. He took something apart of the truck. It wasn't even the problem. But yeah, I still paid him for it.
But this, quite honestly, I don't
And then
understand.
I paid him for the rear end, too.
I don't understand a couple of things.
Okay.
If I've been disappointed by a workman, as you clearly were, from June 2020 until January 2022, because they hadn't completed a job for you, despite the fact that you purchased the part, I wouldn't call that same mechanic back. I wouldn't call that same plumber back. I wouldn't call that same electrician back because I'd had a bad experience with them. So it confounds me as to why you would take another vehicle to him if you were so dissatisfied with his work.
Understandable.
Yeah. Well, so what?
Felt like I was in, a tight spot, and I really couldn't
What kind of
afford.
tight spot were you in? Where do you live?
I live in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, that's a big town. There are lots of mechanics there. There are lots of auto repair, truck repair.
Yeah, but I really financially couldn't afford, legitimate.
Well, that's what happens when you deal with a legitimate. But I don't understand why an otherwise intelligent man would take his only semi-operating vehicle to the same person who had his truck for a year and didn't fix it. Listen, what'd you do with his engine?
I scrapped it.
Okay. Don't be mad at me.
Huh?
Don't be mad at me.
I'm not. I love you.
Okay, good. Thank you. When did you scrap it?
The end of April of 2022.
Did you give him any notice that you were going to scrap his engine?
No, I did not. There's a false police report made against me.
Okay.
I have the case number and the officer's number.
Okay, just a sec. So you retaliated because that's your counterclaim, that he filed a false police report, as a result of which, and the false police report said that during the course of a heated argument about this truck, that he says that you pulled a gun and
Did not.
filed a police report.
No, I didn't.
Joe?
did.
Prove it. You can't.
Mr. Rantel. And that's your counterclaim, that he filed this false police report and nothing ever came of it except you were embarrassed by being questioned by the police in front of family members.
Yes.
And as a result of that false police report, you threw away his motor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, you can't do that. That you can't do. How much did you pay for the motor, sir?
$690 plus I paid $100 for delivery of the motor.
I'd like to see the invoice for that.
I got the invoice for the motor, but
That's
not...
all I need.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Mr. Rantel, so that we're clear, you have to understand you can't get even by selling somebody else's property.
I didn't
What'd you do?
I didn't sell it. I
Scrap
gave it away.
It doesn't matter. By disposing of. Let's make it disposing of. When you say you scrapped it, you mean nobody gave you $10 for it?
Not a dime.
Okay, then you can't give it away in retaliation.
Why
There's
not?
finally...
Why not? It was in my possession.
No, because you took...
Try to put me in jail for not
just a
something I
second.
didn't do.
Just a second. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. You cannot sell someone else's property in retaliation for them doing something to you when you have legal recourse. Your legal recourse is to come here and file a case. You did it as a counterclaim and say he filed a false police report against me that I was using a gun. So that's what you do. The response to that isn't, I'm going to sell his property. That's not your response. When I used to sit in family court, I had young people, one of whom was selling drugs for a very long time, heavy drugs. Kid, 15, 16 years old. And he had 6 or 7 priors for selling heavy-duty drugs. And I tried that case, and there was no question he was selling drugs. And his lawyer's argument at the disposition stage of that case was he was selling drugs because his grandmother died. I said, I lost all my grandparents, and I was close to my grandparents. I did a lot of things. I grieved, lost my appetite for a while. I was sad, but I didn't sell drugs. So when somebody does something to you that you believe is against the law, your responsibility is you file a case against them. You proceed legally against them. You don't take it out in another way, because that doesn't make a civilized society. Just doesn't. That makes sort of a vigilante kind of thing. So we shouldn't do that. So you have to pay him for his engine. Now, as far as the second piece of your case is the $800 that you gave him, I have no idea how much it was to fix your second car, but he did in fact fix it. And since you had no particular agreement with him on how much it was, and according to you, you couldn't deal with someone, you didn't have the funds to deal with someone who was, I think the word was legitimate. That's a problem that I can't resolve for you. Now let's get to this argument and his counterclaim. The argument that you had was over the truck.
The white truck? Yes.
Any truck. I don't care what.
Yes.
I'm not a truck girl myself. I like 4-door comfortable sedans. And this argument took place on what date? Why don't you tell me, Mr. Antel, because this is your counterclaim.
It was the end of April.
End of April of 2022.
Yes.
And the police were called.
No, ma'am.
Yes, the police were called. They showed up at my place.
No, the police report is 7/25/22.
7/25/22.
May I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a driver's license?
It's currently suspended.
How long has it been suspended, Mr. Gruniger?
About a year now.
What were you doing driving a vehicle?
I wasn't. They were towing the vehicle with a tow chain.
I understand that. But you drive a vehicle, sir.
I was steering the vehicle.
What does that mean, you were steering the vehicle?
Driving it.
The vehicle
Shit.
moving at 4 miles an hour.
I don't care if it's running backwards. I just asked you. You have no license because according to the police, you having a driver's license would be inimical to public safety. That's what it says here. Now, why is that? Have you had accidents in the past? Yes.
Yes.
Serious ones? Yes. Okay. You don't need a truck, you don't need a car. You have no driver's license.
No, ma'am. Me and my son, we work construction together. He drives.
Do you know how old I am? Do you have any idea how old I am? You think that I believe that? It's only going 4 miles an hour. I will set the rules of what it is that means driving. You go 5 miles an hour, it's really not
He lives
driving.
3 blocks away from him. We were just
I don't care.
towing it down the street.
I don't care. Whether you were in the kitchen, he was in the laundry room. And when you spoke to the police, Mr. Gruniger, there were 2 other witnesses, and you would not give them the last name or contact information for either of them. Is that right? That's what it says here, unless you're calling the
Yeah, I
police
didn't know
lies.
his last name,
And you wouldn't give them your son's name because you say he doesn't like police.
and that I want to make straight. That is not true. I would not tell a police officer my son
It should be
doesn't
noted that
believe.
Gruniger stated that Michael Jr. would not give a statement because he didn't like police.
Right.
As well as
That's
Gruniger
not
would
true.
not
My
give the
little
phone
brother's a
number
police
for Michael
officer.
Jr. I'm just telling you, I'm reading you what
I know, I'm
what
sorry.
you handed me. It's your evidence.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Okie dokie. Did you make an application, Mr. Gruniger, for any sort of protective order against him?
No,
No. You were advised by the police that you could do that if you wanted to.
no.
Interesting.
Yeah, that report is interesting.
It was you, your son, and this person, Kyle, who were present, and only Mr. Antel. Is that right, when this confrontation took place?
Yes.
And according to you, you got out of your truck and you started walking towards him aggressively. That's according to you.
That's not
according.
true. He's 40 feet away from me.
No.
Hear that
According to you, I'm reading you what your police report says, sir.
Yeah, but
I'm reading what your police report says based upon what you told the police at the time back in April.
it's not entirely correct.
Gruniger stated that he started advancing towards Antel. Gruniger also stated that he called Antel while he was walking towards him. It should be noted that Gruniger stated, and this is all on body cam, that he was walking towards Antel aggressively. Gruniger stated that Antel then pulled what he described as a black handgun out of his sweatshirt pocket. He described it as black and silver trim. He stated that he did not point it or say anything, just showed it to him to make you aware that he was carrying. And after the police interviewed both of you and confirmed the 2 people with you were out and you were walking and confronting him aggressively, called his names, and could not confirm the fact that he had a gun, took out a gun, not pointed it to you, just showed you that he had it, they decided to do nothing. That's what you're telling me. That's what this report says.
Yeah, they didn't validate it as a
They,
threat.
they did not validate it at all.
Right.
Okay, so, Mr. Rantel,
Yes.
what happened after that report is that police officers came to your house to ask you about that,
Yes.
right? And you said, related practically the same thing that Mr. Gruniger did to the police, that he approached you, that he called you a name, that he was aggressive. You said all of that,
Yes.
but you said you did not have a gun.
That's right.
Okay. And this is not meant to hold you criminally responsible for anything. Mr. Rantel, have you ever had possession of a gun?
No.
Ever in your life?
No.
Did you ever purchase a gun?
No.
In your state, in order to purchase a gun legally, do you have to go through a process or is it a carry state?
Yeah, I go through a legal process.
You have to.
Yes.
Okay. Were you ever arrested for carrying a gun?
No.
Well, other than your statement that he showed you that he had a gun, and how far was he standing from you?
About 40 feet.
40 feet away. And you saw him take something out of his sweatshirt pocket.
He didn't remove it out of his pocket. He removed his hand covering it.
What does that mean?
It was in his pocket. He was wearing a hoodie.
How do you know it was in his pocket? What do you have, x-ray vision?
No, my son seen it because his vehicle was right alongside his vehicle. So my son seen it, and then when he got back in his car and pulled up another 10 feet and got out of his car, turned around and said, yeah, bring it, and a few expletives, and then pulled his hand out of his hoodie pocket and revealed the handle of the gun.
Just a second. So you're saying at that time you saw it?
Yes.
You saw it, not your son
My
40
son
feet
had
away.
seen it
Not
on the
son
seat
40
of his
feet away.
car.
That's a lie.
But you
He
saw it.
reached in and grabbed it and put it in his sweater because when he got back out of the car to face me, is when he decided to show me he had a gun.
Okay. Were you out of your truck at the time?
Yes, I was standing beside
Okay,
him.
so you were out of your truck. And what about your son? Was he out of the truck?
Nope.
He was in. What about Kylie?
He remained in the truck too. He was the one in front pulling the truck I was steering, and he was following behind. It was a little convoy.
And Mr. Rantel was by himself.
Yes, he was driving down the street the opposite direction.
Mr. Rantel, I am not satisfied, quite frankly, and cannot make a determination whether or not you had a gun or what appeared to be a gun or what appeared to be something in your pocket or whether you even moved your hand in your pocket to demonstrate maybe you had a weapon. I don't find that the acts that you allege that he committed by filing this false police report is something that I can justify giving you a financial award for, because I'm not so sure that you didn't have something in your pocket. I'm not sure. In any event, Mr. Rantel, you owe him for the engine that you discarded in a peak. You can't do that. Cost of the engine was $590, right? $590. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Ma'am,
We're finished.
Your Honor.
We're
Court
done.
is adjourned.
I was kind of in a hard spot. I needed my truck fixed.
Try to push me and push me.
I trusted him.
I didn't work today. I won.
The truck is inoperable. It's sitting in my backyard.
I worked for what he gave me.
So I really couldn't afford, like I said, a legitimate shop or a mechanic.
I've never owned a pistol.
Yeah, he's lying.
Basically, if I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna fight with my bare hands.
Don't do anything without any receipts.
Our friendship is through.
You know, it's really hard when you have two difficult people, but there was something about what he said that had the ring of truth to it,
Very honest.
a directness, and I'm really not convinced. Were you?
No, I wasn't either.
That he had a gun.
It could have gone either way, and while I believed his outburst of innocence, I couldn't imagine making something like that up, but maybe that's just me. So it was really difficult. I don't think I could have made a determination either way either.
Yeah, and I think the answer is here. If you can't make a decision one way or another, it's not supposed to be a guess. It's supposed to be by some evidence.
Yeah.
But you can't sort of take the law into your own hands, and if you filed a police report, I'm going to scrap his engine.
About a year ago,
What kind of work did he do a year ago?
warehouse work.
Is there any reason that he hasn't worked in a year?
He has concussions and back injuries. And
From what?
From car accidents.
Does he currently have any lawsuits pending with regard to those accidents?
No, ma'am.
So the accidents were your fault?
No, they were the other people's faults.
The other people had no
Sorry,
ins-
the other person didn't have insurance at the time. So later on, he ended up stating that he did have insurance and got out of the ticket.
Do you see a doctor regularly?
Not anymore, no. I used to, though, until I ran out of my insurance for health insurance. And then the bill just kept stacking up on me.
At that time, did you have an attorney?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever have an attorney with regard to, did you ever consult an attorney with regard to these accidents? No.
No.
Okay, fine. Is there any reason why you're not working?
Yes, ma'am. I have bad back problems that I've had for quite some time. I have 4 discs out my lower back. I also have knee injuries, shoulder injuries. I was pushing my body more than I should have been. I was over 300 pounds working in a heated environment, working every day, and I dropped all the weight, and then I ended up hurting myself even further from there. And then my doctor told me not to do anything over 20 pounds, so I went against her rules, and I did it anyways, and I kept injuring myself.
What kind of work does your father do?
He works as a U-Haul business associate and mechanic as well.
When did you live with your father?
I lived with my father in January, I believe it was 8th
January of what year?
of 2022, sorry.
After you have been disabled all this time
Yes.
because of all the heavy work.
Yes.
Let me give a general outline of what this case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
You and your fiancée were living where?
We were living with my father,
No, before you lived with your father.
My father.
her father.
In what state?
Wyoming.
There come a time when your father either said it's enough or you decided that you were no longer happy in Wyoming?
It was a conflict with his girlfriend that came about.
Whatever it was. If it was a conflict with his girlfriend, your father told you to skedaddle.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you called your father.
No, I didn't call my father.
Who did?
My father called me.
You mean just out of the blue?
Yeah, he does it at random once in a while.
He just called you at about the same time that your fiancé's father told you to get out.
Yes, is what I believe. Anyways, I've had a few concussions, Your Honor, and I don't remember a lot.
Okay, we're going to get there. In any event, you had a discussion with your father that you didn't have a place to live, you didn't have a job, she didn't have a job, you had no money. Her father was kicking you out of the house, and he drove cross country to get you.
Yes, ma'am.
In what month?
It was in January.
January of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did he drive to come and get you?
I think 1,000 miles, maybe.
Each way?
Each way, probably about 2,000 total, something like that.
Okay, so he drove 2,000 miles to come and get you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he brought you back to his house.
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't working.
Yes, ma'am.
And the girlfriend wasn't working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you weren't working, the girlfriend wasn't working, you had no money, so your father was taking care of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And now you're suing him. And you're suing him for a host of things, which I'm going to give you a relatively short time to tell me about. But one of the things that your fiancé says is that your father owes you for wages because you worked for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing what?
I was doing U-Haul work, basically.
What is U-Haul work?
Oh, sorry. I'll explain. Sorry, ma'am. Basically, what we do.
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically.
Sorry,
I want to
sorry.
hear what you were doing.
I would hook up U-Hauls. I would also clean and inspect all the vehicles.
Just a second. Hook up the U-Hauls,
Hook up the U-Hauls.
clean and inspect them.
Clean and inspect them.
What does it involve in cleaning them?
Basically, spraying down.
Not basically.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. We spray down all the.
Not we, you.
Yeah, sorry. I spray down every single surface of the innards of the vehicle. Basically, the steering wheel, the floor bits, the radio, everything.
And when you hook them up, explain how you hook something up.
How I have to hook something up is just backing up, lining up with.
So you have to drive.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving a car and backing up.
Yes, ma'am. And
So
then,
you're using a rear view mirror
yes.
and yourself. You're looking to see where you're backing up because you have to use both.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you hook them. Well, what else did you do for your father?
I also did paperwork for him, doing like inventory stocks and stuff like that.
Terrific.
Basically.
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically. Basically is a filler
Sorry,
word.
ma'am. What else was I doing? I would sweep, clean up his shop. I would do a lot of things.
Okay,
for him.
all while you were unable to do anything else.
Yes, ma'am. I would.
All, just a second.
What were
all
you saying?
after your back issues, after your concussions, after whatever other injuries that you had from working someplace. By the way, you don't have a lawsuit pending against anybody, do you?
No, ma'am.
So it's just a question of fetching, other than maybe trying to collect a disability somewhere along the line from the federal government. You were able to hook up U-Hauls, clean them and sanitize them, sweep out the premises, do paperwork, but you can't work. I mean, because part of the lawsuit is about all this work that you did, but all while you're telling me that you're unemployable because of all the injuries that you had.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okey-dokey. You understand how ridiculous that sounds to me.
Yes.
I only had one other case in my recent memory that sounded anywhere familiar to this story, and that was a man that was also receiving disability because he had a bad back. He was the plaintiff in a lawsuit suing someone because he had built them an outdoor patio deck alone, and he wasn't paid the $6,000 for it. But he had been collecting disability for a back ailment for 31 years from the federal government. That sound odd to you?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it sound odd to you that you're able to put hookups together and sweep and everything else, but you can't say, do you want a hamburger with your fries or fries with a burger?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds peculiar to you. Right, so I don't want to hear about work. Okay, that's the first thing. And you lived in your father's house for how long, by the way?
I think we only lived there for the first month, and then we ended up getting moved out to a camper for like the last bit of the, I think, 2 months that we were there.
I don't know what you're suing for. But he can't work. Forget him now. I want you to tell me what you're suing this man who drove 2,000 miles to rescue you after your father threw you out. I want you to tell me what you think he owes you for.
For the stolen property of my vehicle.
What stolen property of your vehicle?
He stole my toolbox with the key with it and also parts that went to my vehicle.
Did you take her toolbox?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Next. What's next?
Whenever I confronted him about it,
About what?
about the toolbox when we went to go get my truck, then he would say what he just said, that he never took it. But when I asked him where did the key go for it, he denied he would just ignore that fact.
Well, it's not a fact. It's not a fact unless
Or
you can
just
prove
like-
that he took
or-
your property. You said he just said to you, I don't have your toolbox.
But my vehicle was on his property, in his possession.
Okay. And that's what you have. Your vehicle, while you were living there, was on his property, and therefore he's responsible for the toolbox.
Yes, ma'am. When he kicked us out and then told us to come back for the truck, he was going to give us 2 weeks to have it towed.
Because the truck wasn't working, but he let the truck stay on his property for 2 weeks.
Yes.
What else are you suing him for?
Just for the repairs on the vehicle.
On what vehicle?
On my truck, that whenever I went to go get the truck off his property after that 2 weeks, that's when the toolbox was missing, and I also looked under the hood and there was wires hanging out, and those wires, I do have pictures.
Just a second.
There was
Let me ask you this question. You said he gave you 2 weeks to come and get your truck off his property. The truck was inoperable when you left it on his property. Wasn't running.
No, ma'am.
That's right. You did not come to get it off his property in 2 weeks. You came after the 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
How much after the 2 weeks?
I think just like a couple days after. We came back on April 23rd and we left the property April 6th.
So it was after the 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let's get there fast because I'm quickly losing patience with 2 ingrates.
Here's the pictures.
I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go. Move on. Your father came 2,000 miles to get you. He fed you for a month. He kept a roof over your head for a month. In return, you're suing him for nonsense. Let us move on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. Now, Mr. Blanchard,
Yes, ma'am.
you have a countersuit that actually you wouldn't have brought now because you didn't have an agreement with your son and his fiancée when you went to get him. How many children do you have?
8 altogether.
Prior to going to get him cross-country, when had you seen him?
Been several years.
Tell me about the conversation when he contacted you.
He said, Dad, I have no place to go. We can try to stay with her grandmother. Alfred said, I'll come get you if you have no place to go.
And then?
Within a week, I dropped everything to go get him.
Now, when your son and his fiancée came to you, sir, did you put him to work in your business?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long was he in your business?
Altogether, maybe less than 90 days.
Did he work in your business after they moved out of your house? He says they only lived in your house for 30 days.
They were in the house 45 days, and then they were left another 45 days inside of a camper.
Can you tell me why they moved into a camper?
There was a chance of my daughter coming home, and they were living in her room at the time. And so I wanted to make sure they still had something, so I put them into a camper.
Camper on your property?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of camper?
Small camper. Had
So
a
they
shower.
used the inside of the house to shower and
Yes, Your Honor.
stuff, but they slept in the camper?
Yes, Your Honor.
All true?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And he paid for the camper, he paid for the electricity, water, etc. when you were in now. She wasn't working. Did he also pay for the food? Did you eat in the house or did you eat in the camper?
No, ma'am. We were getting food stamps. So we paid for our own food, and we also helped them with their food as well.
Why were you getting food stamps?
For the short bit of time, because he recommended to get on food stamps.
Had you been on food stamps when you lived in Wyoming?
No, ma'am.
Okay, how did you support yourself there?
I was working at the time.
And what about him?
Driving company, basically, we go around, pick up food from places, and
So you were able to drive?
Yes,
Oh,
for only a little bit.
with all those injuries. Amazing. Okay, I would like you to testify, sir, now to the conversation that you had with your son with regard to compensation for coming to pick him up in Wyoming. Be very careful what you say to me.
I told my son before I picked him up, I said, you need to pay me back for this trip.
Did you tell him what for the trip? I mean,
Yes,
your
for all
time?
expenses. All expenses for the trip.
For the expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
How was he supposed to do that? He wasn't working.
He was supposed to get a nighttime job on top of working, helping me out around my shop.
Did he help you around your shop? You
He
said
did.
about 90 days. Did you pay him?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if he worked for you for 90 days and you didn't pay him at all, and it cost you a couple of $1,000s, according to you,
Yes, Your
to
Honor.
go out and get him, hire trucks, spend time back, whatever it was, and he worked for you for 90 days without compensation, why do you think he did that?
I was hoping just because that's what he really wanted to do.
No good deed goes unpunished. You went and you got him, and now they're suing you, but their case is dismissed. They have no case against you. It's all a bunch of nonsense and ridiculous. But likewise, sir, your counterclaim is for the expenses that you incurred in going to pick them up. I don't actually think that there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, but even if there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, the fact that he worked for 90 days without any compensation, I think, more than compensates you for that. As a result of that, your counterclaim as well is dismissed. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
You try to do your best for your kids whenever you can. This is no different.
It's been very difficult growing up.
I hope he gets his life together.
I don't want anything to do with him.
I'll always be there for him.
It's time to cut the strings. I'm done with him.
That young man sounded as if he was intelligent. That doesn't mean he was smart. That means he was intelligent. Because at age 19 or 20, to have already figured out that you can't work because you have a bad back unless you really have to work. If you really have to work, then you can work for your father. That's a bad mindset for a very young person. That means that your life is really going nowhere. You're not preparing yourself to do anything.
And to take it a step further and to sue the only person that was there for you in a time when you needed them.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Case number 2059, Dobson versus Jones, Poindexter. All parties, please step forward.
Clarissa Dobson is suing her sister-in-law, Kenesha Jones Poindexter, for a trip and wedding expenses.
Miss Dobson, I assume this is your brother.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And this is his wife.
That is correct.
They're newly married.
That's correct.
When were they married?
June of 2021, June 26th.
Were you at the wedding?
Yes, I was. I was in the wedding.
Wedding at your house?
Wedding was at my home.
This is the unfortunate circumstance that I read in your papers, which I hope to be able to resolve quickly. You've known the defendant for many, many years.
Yes, that's correct.
She became engaged too when she was getting married, and they were planning a wedding according to you. And Miss Poindexter, according to you, asked you to lay out certain monies for her for the wedding.
That's correct.
They were married. It was a joyous day, I gather. And then you asked her for the money back.
Yes, that's correct.
And
big enough to put up 2 large tents, 45 guest tables, chairs, the mayor, some police. It was nice.
And there were certain things that you paid for.
Yes, that's correct.
You paid for a photographer?
Yes, that's correct.
How much?
The photographer was $300, Your Honor.
Okay, what else did you pay for?
Because the party was held at the home, the wedding, all the events pertaining to the wedding party had to take place at the home.
Like what?
So like when we had our bridal shower meetings, because also Miss...
Oh, you mean the meetings to plan the wedding?
Right, to plan the wedding.
I'm not interested.
You're not interested in that?
I'm not interested in that. Yeah, so far we have $300 for a photographer that you say you laid out. Did she lay out that money?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, what else?
Her rides back and forth.
I'm not interested in her rides back.
Well, how was she going to get there? She's in Philadelphia. I'm in New Jersey.
$300 for a photographer. What else?
And just money she asked to borrow for the most part throughout the wedding.
Just a second.
So we
For
have...
how much and when? So far, $300 for a photographer.
So on January 20th, Your Honor, we have $150.
For what?
She didn't say what it was for. It was for the wedding, though, because I have it here. Everything wedding is here.
Well, did she ask you for this $150 on the phone, in person?
She asked for it, like, over the phone, but then I sent the money, too. So anything that I sent to her, I always sent to her through Cash App because she's in Philadelphia, no car.
Okay, then let me ask Miss Poindexter. Miss Poindexter, there would be no other reason for Miss Dobson to send money to you through a Cash App during the wedding period other than for the wedding. Would that be accurate?
Not in January, Your Honor. We didn't start planning our wedding until 90 days before June. So anything that happened in January had nothing to do with my wedding.
Okay. Do you have Cash App statements before January?
I have nothing before January.
She has nothing before.
I have everything
only after.
January on.
Only after. So that would be for the wedding.
We didn't start planning our wedding until about March. We got married in June.
So what would she be sending you money for?
It has been times, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, it has been times if I didn't have it or I might have needed a car fare or something, and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
No, I'm not talking about vice versa. I don't have a counterclaim. That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100 and she would lend me that. Is that the word she used? Let's make sure I heard that right.
She says, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, there has been times. And you asked her why. She said if I didn't have it or I need a car fare or something, and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
Thank you. Lend me money. So, okay, now we're going to get to Miss Dobson. How much money did you send her via Cash App? Because she's already just acknowledged that those were loans.
So, 150, 100.
Let me have the dates.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's go back. 150 on what date?
January 20th.
Okay, 100 on what date?
February 11th.
Next.
March 8th, $50.
Okay.
April 4th, $100. May 11th, $20. May 17th, $25. May 22nd, $205. 15 on May 25th. May 28th, $45. June 3rd, $15. And I had a February 28th in here for $50. That was the first one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had February 11th only, so you have another...
Right, a February 28th for $50.
Can I see all of those?
Yes, ma'am. Here you go.
Okay. Sarah Rose, would you fix that up for me? Okay, and you, based upon the read back and based upon what I thought I heard, anytime she sent you money, it's because you ran out of money, you were in a bind, and she loaned you the money. That's what was here. Excuse me. You have
$775.
$775. Has she paid you back any of that money?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, the photographer. I want you to tell me how it came about that you paid the photographer.
Because Miss Jones / Poindexter was waiting on unemployment to hit. And I'm not saying she wasn't trying to get the money up, because she was. But when the time came, this photographer guy needed to get paid, she didn't have the money.
Want to tell me about the photographer?
Yes, the photographer, I believe I was short like $300 some odd, and Clarissa did put the rest of the money.
Why didn't you pay her the $775?
I don't believe I owe Clarissa.
Well, you just told her that she loaned you the money when you were short, and she wired it to you or did whatever they do in a cash app. I don't understand all of that. You said it was a loan. Is there any reason why you didn't pay her back? No. Okay. So far I have $775 and $300. Next.
Okay, so now we have the trip. They are the godparents of my twins. Your Honor, we were inseparable.
Okay,
So,
they're the godparents of your twins, your
Yep.
twins.
came time for their birthday. She said
Month and year.
April of last year, 2021.
Okay, April of 2021.
Right. So in the process of planning the twins' birthday, Miss Jones Poindexter said, "Oh, I would like to go. I'm just waiting on the unemployment, pandemic money, all that to hit." When it came time to go, they didn't have the money.
You're talking about the defendant and your brother. They both went.
Right. So
Just a second. They both went.
they both went. That's correct.
And what kind of work does your brother do?
He was a chef at the time.
So he was working.
Yes.
And she wasn't working.
Yes. Can I say something?
You can say whatever you want to say. You know where I'm going, don't you?
I know where you're going.
Okay.
Like I said, we were inseparable, right?
I don't care. I don't
Certain
care about the
things-
social aspect of
Okay,
this.
but certain things she just didn't want to let him know she was doing, because at the end of the day, she thought she was going to get this money.
Miss Dobson, I don't care whether you say she didn't know what she was doing. You were already in a place where on January 20th, she didn't have $150, so you sent it to her. On February 11th, she didn't have $100, you sent it to her. On March 8th, she didn't have $50. You had to send it to her. So I don't see
taking her for her
stupid
word.
written over here.
No.
If somebody doesn't have $50 and you think I believe that you relied on her statement that I'm going to pay you for this trip that your brother is going on too because his godchildren are celebrating a birthday, I don't believe it. So let's just forget a trip. $775 is what she says she owes you because she says it was a loan. $300 for the photographer. You have the pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't hear anything from you suggesting to me that this $300 was a gift.
I honestly did believe that she was doing it for our wedding.
Okay, good. $1075. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
So, Your Honor, what about my
adjourned.
That's it.
It's just a sad situation all the way around.
That's probably how she feel right now.
I love my sister-in-law.
She love me and I love her. So what?
Honestly, I just want to be able to see my godkid.
I'm sure we'll be all right.
It's always a...
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2085, Schumann versus Bat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Schumann,
That's right.
I assume this is your wife?
My girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
And my son, Blake.
And your girlfriend is here just for moral support? She wasn't living with you in the house?
She wasn't living with me, no, but she was
Sit down. I was away. Sit.
a part of it.
Sit down.
Big part of
she,
it.
she was not living at the house?
No.
Good. Just you and your son?
Yes.
And you were tenants of Mr. and Mrs. Back for how long?
I think it was 6 years.
Starting when?
And then I signed the lease.
August 2016. Don't help him. Okay.
Yeah. Yep, 8/1/16.
And which unit do you rent? Because they also live in the house.
Yeah, it's 3 floors. I have the middle, and the top is just a little loft. Comes with a little loft.
And did you move in there with your son?
No, in the beginning, no. He wasn't with me.
Was it just you?
It was just me.
And when did he move in?
Probably 2 years later.
2018.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 15.
Now, in 2016, everything going well with your landlord?
Yeah.
Same landlord.
Yes.
What about 2017?
Everything's good.
Everything's going fine. 18? Must have been going fine because you brought your son in to live with you.
We did have a few incidences that I had to call the police then.
Okay, so in 2018, you had to call the police.
Yes.
When in 2018?
First time Mrs. Back came, and she had a problem with Blake. She said he walked too hard upstairs
Okay. Now, before Blake came with you, with whom was he living?
with his mother.
How long was he living with his mother?
Since he,
Since he was born?
Yeah, since birth.
And did you visit with him before he came to live with you?
Yeah, I had him every other weekend and Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So something must have happened in 2018 because he's 15 years old, he's in high school. You want to tell me the reason? Angela, I want you to bear in mind, this is my business.
Yeah.
You want to tell me why your son came to live with you? And if you just want to say to me he and his mother weren't getting along, I will accept that.
No, that's not why. She wanted to move to Florida, and she said I could have Blake.
Interesting. Okay, so the first time you started to have trouble was when your son came in. Mrs. Back said that he was walking too loud, making too much noise upstairs.
Yeah.
And how did she communicate that with you?
Well, Mr. Back was really the one who had the problem. At night, because Blake would go from his bedroom to the bathroom, and he walked too loud. That was it.
So what did you do?
Well, that was that.
I want to know why you called the police.
Well, why you called the police was because finally, this was the following year when she...
Just a second. So that was it. In 2018, they told you that your son was walking too heavy.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, going from his room to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, but that didn't require a call to the police. So I'm waiting.
Well,
this is not a well. You call the police. I want to tell you something. I've been a tenant for most of my life. I've never called the police on the landlord. So this is not an answer that starts with well. When was the first time you called the police regarding Mr. and Mrs. Back, and for what reason?
She illegally entered my apartment. She used her key to come into my house.
Okay, don't speak. I told you not to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
When did she use a key to come into your apartment?
What time of the day?
No,
month of the day, and
month?
I don't remember. I mean, I have the police report.
Oh, I'd like to see it. Well, that will tell me.
The door was open, Your Honor. Sorry.
What part don't you understand? You want me to just grant his application and say goodbye to you?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I know I had it. No, I have it, but
You have it, but you don't have it.
Well,
Okay, so that was sometime, according to you, in 2018/19, she entered your apartment without your permission using a key.
Yes.
And as a result of that, what happened?
Well, the officer came...
It's not a well.
Yeah, the officer
So she came in and you found out that she'd been in your apartment. How did you...
I was upstairs. I was in the apartment and she came in.
Oh, she used her key?
Yeah.
And came in and you were there?
Yes.
Tell me about that incident. So she came in...
She confronted Blake, then I went upstairs.
Just a second. She confronted Blake and you went upstairs. Upstairs from where?
From downstairs. We were coming home. She came running down the block, saw that we were home, and started telling Blake that he walks too loud. You're walking too loud. You're walking too loud.
Just a second. She's in the street.
She was coming. She's coming. She's coming.
You
back.
said you were outside. You were outside. First you tell me, if I'm not mistaken, Whitney, he said he was in the apartment when she came in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. First you told me you were in the apartment. That's not accurate. This happened outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happened outside and she was yelling at your son that he was walking too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And now she's outside coming from the beach. She's telling him, you're coming inside, keep going.
Then we went inside. I said, okay.
Just a second.
I said, okay, I'll tell him to walk a little softer, levitate a little bit. And we went inside and I got onto the phone talking to somebody. I guess she heard me talking. And she opened her key and came up the stairs and started yelling. I wasn't yelling at Blake. I wasn't doing this to Blake. I wasn't doing that to Blake.
All right, next. Next, I'll tell you what this case is about so that everybody understands what this case is about. You're claiming that they illegally evicted you. That's one thing. You claim that they have your security deposit. And what else do you want? You say that there was a simple assault because when yelling at you, one of them spit on you.
It was a lot more than yelling.
I don't care what's yelling. Nobody hit you. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
You panicked. Yes, friend. Has some information because it was June 3rd. You are Gina.
Yes.
Perfect. You and Gina were in bed asleep. Does Gina have her own car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
So that's two cars.
Yes.
Where are you supposed to park?
Well, we don't have a driveway, so you can park on the street if you want.
Okay, so you weren't parked anywhere near the house?
No, across the street.
Correct?
Yes.
So his cars weren't blocking yours?
Yes, they were.
Where was your car parked?
My car was parked out front, behind his disabled spot that he has for himself, and only him.
Just a second.
Behind him.
There's a disabled parking spot on a public street?
Yes, but it's only his, for his number only. So no one else can park there, or they get ticketed and towed.
Even if you're disabled.
Yeah, even if you're disabled, you're not allowed.
Did you get a spot assigned to you, sir, assigned to your car because of a disability?
Yes.
What's the nature of the disability?
I had 2 cracked vertebrae in my neck. I dislocated my left shoulder. I have herniated and ruptured discs in my lower back and nerve damage down my left leg.
So you have a place to park?
Yes.
Were you or your girlfriend Gina in any way blocking Mr. and Mrs. Back's car?
No.
Okay. Did you see where they were parked?
Yeah, she was parked on the street in front of the house.
Their car was parked in the street in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay. Go. June 3rd, where was your car?
So my car was parked behind his disabled spot. My husband came in and showed me a ticket that was on my car, and I couldn't understand it because there's no meters or anything. And when I went to look at the ticket, it took me a little time. I checked it. It was for unregistered vehicle. First time in my life I've ever done something like that. I went online right away because I said, I know I did this in April in my mind because I do everything online. Obviously, I never sent it through, and I didn't realize it. Cops in the town have a scanner. They scanned my car. They gave me a ticket. I'm responsible for that. I understand that. But when I spoke to the cop, he said...
Now, don't tell me what the cop said.
I can get a ticket every 12 hours. So I panicked. I said, okay, I'm going to try...
Now I understand what's happened.
But I needed to...
Just a second. So now I understand what happened. She got a ticket parking on the street. And the ticket for parking on the street was for having an unregistered vehicle.
Yes.
Your car was not parked in your designated handicapped spot. Instead, you and Gina were parked in the street.
Yes.
So she came to you to ask you to take your car and put it in your handicapped spot so that she could park in the driveway.
No.
Well,
we just needed one of them. Can you see
Just a
look
second.
at this picture?
Just a second.
And then you'll understand what I mean.
You asked one of them to move their car?
I tried to just get in touch with both of them at this point,
to-
just get their attention.
You said, Miss Back, no to me very fast. I want you to listen to what I
asked him
said.
to go in. There's six parking spots on this lot. So I didn't need him to go in his spot, is what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't matter.
I just needed him
You need to move?
get through. He could have stayed there the whole night if he wanted to.
Okay. And what time was this?
My husband walked in about 20 to 9. I started to look it up, thinking that something was wrong. By the time I figured that out, then I knocked on the door.
Just a second. Give me a time that you went to his door to knock at the door.
I started knocking on the door about 9 o'clock, a little bit after, maybe 5 of 9 o'clock. And then I proceeded to text, and I proceeded to call.
Okay. Now, prior to that, Mr. Schumann, prior to that date, at about 9 o'clock, when was the time immediately prior that you called the police about the behavior or a complaint about Mr. and Mrs. Back? Shh. What don't you understand?
When I called the police, it was probably about 9:45.
No, prior to that night, when she wanted you to move your car. When was the time immediately preceding that you called the police about any conduct of Mr. and Mrs. Back?
Yeah, I don't remember the date.
Give me the month and year.
Oh, wow. It was...
So far we have
maybe
2018.
Maybe 2020.
So that was the second time that you've called the police?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You keep saying that. 2020. What was that about?
What that was about was she was downstairs with her friends. They were smoking so much marijuana that we couldn't breathe on the second and third floor. And Miss Zanino called her and said, you guys gotta knock it off. You gotta stop. We can't breathe up here. Had to open the windows, had to turn on fans. And I had Blake there.
May I see the police report?
That one I don't have. They wouldn't give it to me. They said...
Just a second. Now, they said you don't have that police report, but that you called because of smoking marijuana.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the time immediately preceding the call at 9:45 in June of 2022.
Yes.
There were no calls in between.
No.
Is that correct?
One after, but not before.
One after.
2 days later.
2 days after the
altercation. Yeah.
After the altercation. Okay. So now, according to you, you and Gina are in bed, sound asleep at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Where is your son?
He's downstairs on the second floor. That's where his bedroom is.
Okay. But downstairs, when you want to get in, do you get in from the second floor or the third?
Come in the house, you gotta come in from the first floor. And then...
Walk up a flight of stairs,
Yeah.
so you have to pass where your son is. Your son is on the second floor.
Oh, yeah. If I'm going up to the loft, the bedroom door is right there. Yeah.
Okay. What's your son's first name?
Blake.
Blake, stand up. Move over next to your father. You're 15 years old?
Yes.
15-year-olds don't go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. June 3rd, 2022. Where were you?
I was in the bathroom.
You were in the bathroom?
Yes.
All night?
No, not all night.
Well, when were you in the bathroom?
Around 9:30.
When did you hear banging on the door?
It was around that time.
It was around 9:30?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, I didn't know what was going on.
No, you heard banging at the door?
Yes.
Did somebody say something?
Well...
Not well. Look at me. All you have to do is remember this. Don't speak, Mr. Schumann. Don't speak to him.
No, he's nervous.
Don't speak to him. He won't have to be nervous if he tells the truth. So you see, you just have to cool it. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're gonna get when you heard banging at the door.
I heard Don scream Dan.
You heard Mr. Back.
Yes.
Scream what?
Dan. And
Dan.
yes.
And that's your father.
Yes.
How many times did you hear him scream Dan?
Only once.
Once. And are you out of the bathroom?
Well, I didn't.
That's not an
Sorry.
Are you out of the bathroom or still in the bathroom?
I'm still in the bathroom.
Okay, so you're still in the bathroom.
Yes.
Was the door open or closed?
Closed.
Closed. So behind a closed door in the bathroom, you heard Dan from the floor below.
Yes.
Dan. Now, what did you hear after that? It's not an answer. What did you hear after that? Dan. Now, you knew somebody was looking for your father.
Oh, well, I panicked, sort of.
You panicked?
Yes.
Because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord.
Yeah.
You knew it was the landlord.
No, I didn't.
You just told me.
I thought someone was trying to break in.
You mean, just a second. Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is giving you. Because don't speak. Because at 9 o'clock at night, if somebody is banging at the door and calling your father's name, then it doesn't sound like a break-in to me. If somebody's banging at my door and somebody is yelling out, Nana, Nana, I know they're not trying to break into my house.
It wasn't.
Do you understand? Do you understand?
It was the whole house was shaking.
Okay.
The entire
okay,
house.
Mr. Schumann, I'm not speaking to you. Do you understand? You brought this ridiculous lawsuit. You brought this ridiculous lawsuit.
The truth has to be told. I can't tell.
Just a second.
Because you're lying.
Mr. Schumann,
you're lying.
Mr. Schumann, you brought this ridiculous lawsuit, except for one thing. I'm finished with you. Sit down.
No, I wasn't even the one who called the cops at first.
Just a second.
The neighbor across the street called first because...
Mr. Schumann, you have a police report?
Yeah.
Then I'd like to see where the neighbor across the street called the police.
Yeah, it says it in...
Just a second. I'd like to see it.
He also called.
Shh.
Okay.
Yeah, when I called, they said someone else has already called.
Give this back. Give this back. They don't understand not to talk. All right, I'm about finished with you. You moved out?
Yes, I was illegally evicted.
Great. It's a great thing that you moved out. It's a great thing that you moved out because you don't want to be with such bad landlords who yell and scream in the middle of the night, who smoke marijuana around your 15-year-old son who would never think of doing that, right? Right?
Yes.
Yes, of course. And so it's a good thing that you found someplace else to go.
It is a good thing.
It's a very, very good thing.
Stress that's off me now.
Perfect. Then it's what we call a mitzvah that you moved out. Okay? The only thing that I'm entertaining on either side is on your side, the return of your security deposit. Do you understand?
Yes.
How much was your security deposit?
$17.50.
When you left, did you get any of your security deposit back?
No.
What date did you leave?
It was the last day of June.
So it was June 30th. And you paid June's rent?
Yes.
So now you're going to have to explain to me, Mr. and Mrs. Back, and I think I'm going to go to Mrs. Back, why you kept their security deposit.
Well, Your Honor, he signed a lease when he
Just
first moved in.
to tell me why you kept their security
Because
deposit.
he was asked to give me 60 days notice, written 60 days notice.
Forget it. There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God, for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do
I
you mean,
wasn't
kind
ready for the change at the time. That's why I always ask for 60 days notice.
You sound ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
You sound ridiculous. Do you understand why she sounds ridiculous? You had very, very bad experience with your tenants. Police were called. I don't know, I've lived in places all my life. Police were never called on me as a tenant. I never called police on a landlord. Out there in the near audience, I want to know how many of you ever called the police about your landlord. Raise your hand. I just want some idea. Raise your hand. Don't tell me the truth. Okay, good. Now, how many ever called the police on a tenant? Look at all this. How many times?
Twice.
Great. Landlord or tenant?
On a tenant.
You called about a tenant?
Yes.
About a disruptive tenant?
Yes.
So, with the exception of Kevin, who is a businessman, entrepreneur when he's not here, taking care of my business here, and he called the police twice because of a tenant. Nobody else has ever called the police, so you should say, thank you, landlord for getting rid of these tenants who called the police and not give me baloney about a 60-day notice. Now, if that's why you kept their security deposit, which is what you said to me, then he gets a security deposit back, $17.50. And that's the only reason you gave me.
It's $17.25, but
Just
I
a second.
didn't finish.
$17.25. You did finish. I said, what was the reason? I asked you twice.
Well,
what was the
but
reason? And
that's
the
not in
second,
front
what
of
was the
me.
reason?
I was letting him go from the 17th when he texted my husband to the 17th. The only thing I wanted in return is access. He said no, see it in court. So I turned around and held him to his lease.
Very good. Not here. Not here. Okay. $17.50. He gets a security deposit back. $17.50 or $17.25?
$17.50.
Take a look. Let's get the number right.
The lease.
Because this is fascinating.
He signed his lease that says $17.25.
Okay. You have information to the contrary, Mr. Schumann.
No, she's right. $17.25.
$17.25. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished. That's it.
Court is adjourned.
Judge Judy was right about I should be counting my blessings that they're gone.
It was over a silly parking spot.
I'm glad he's out, but I don't think he deserves his security.
I mean, I couldn't teach him how to levitate. I tried, much as I tried, we couldn't get it.
I'll never understand why acrimonious relationships between landlords and tenants would wish to continue on for another 30 days, another 60 days. Cut your losses and get out of there.
She gave the guy that I was seeing a lap dance. It was a very heated argument. During the argument, her dog is going crazy.
So the dog bit you on the arm?
Yes, ma'am. Twice.
Two people with hot tempers. It's a very, very good thing that they no longer live together.
This is Judy Justice. Is suing her ex-roommate, Adrian Carter, for property damage, breaking a lease, and a dog attack.
Court coming to order. All rise.
Be seated, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2080 Baptiste versus Carter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Baptiste, you and Miss Carter were roommates.
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when?
From October 7th to April 1st. Actually, May.
And it is your claim that Miss Carter vandalized certain property of yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Most specifically, a very expensive couch.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had an argument, and that during the course of this argument, her dog bit you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And for breaching the lease, because she left.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but it was a good thing that she left, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You were happy that she left. Her dog bit you. She vandalized
Right,
the sofa. You were very happy that
she left.
You were very happy. So we're going to eliminate that breach of the lease part.
No.
Oh yes, we're going to eliminate the breach of the lease part because you were happy that she left.
I didn't want her to live in the same situation as her, but being that the rent was so expensive, it wouldn't have been my best interest for her to leave.
It's with her, to stay with her dog that bit you.
Right.
I mean, I don't want you to sound ridiculous to me, okay?
Right.
All right, let's not sound ridiculous to me. A normal person, if they were bitten by their roommate's dog, and if their roommate vandalized their property, that roommate would be happy to see them go.
But I'm not happy with the expensive rent by myself.
Well, of course, but your choice would be staying with her and her dog that bit you.
But if her name's on the lease...
Just a second. That's between her and the landlord. I just told you, I'm sticking with vandalizing and dog bite. So tell me when this dog bite took place.
It's on March 29th.
What kind of dog was it, by the way?
It was a Belgian Malinois.
What do they look like?
It looks like a German Shepherd.
Is that what you have? Miss Carter, a Belgian
Malinois? Yes, Your Honor. A Belgian Malinois, like a police dog.
So it looks like a German Shepherd?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a large dog?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you moved in together, you moved in with the dog?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So tell me what happened March 29th.
Okay, so before March 29th, Adrian and I got in a petty argument. It was dumb. We made up. In the argument, she confessed to me that...
No, just a minute. You engaged in a petty argument, and then you made up.
Yes.
And the petty argument was on what date?
It was on the March 27th.
And you made up?
Yes.
Okay. On the 27th, what were you arguing about?
My dog tore up the carpet, and she sent this long paragraph, and we were just going back and forth, and we realized it was dumb, so we decided to drop it. And that's when she confessed to...
On the 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were arguing about the dog, and then on the 27th, after you were over the argument about the dog, is that what you're telling me? Be very careful.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
She confessed that she gave the guy that I was seeing a lap dance.
And?
And I immediately cut all ties with her.
So you cut all ties with her how?
I stopped speaking to her.
Even though you were roommates?
Yes.
Okay.
After I stopped talking to her, social media posts were made.
By whom?
Adrian.
Okay. Social media posts were made. Do you have those?
No, I do not.
Do you have those?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Why don't you have them if this is your case?
They erased, but I have other things that I think you would want to see.
I'm going in order. This is a case. So don't try to creep into my mind. even say in your complaint a couple of days later there were things posted on social media. And is what you're telling me that they were erased?
Right, I didn't save anything that she posted.
Oh, never mind. I don't have to see anything, correct? Right. So you didn't save anything?
No, ma'am.
Then you have no evidence of anything that happened
So
later.
I saw that she had no remorse for what she did. Then I made social media posts. Adrian was mad that I made social media posts. So the next morning, she's yelling at the top of her lungs at 10 in the morning. I wake up to see what she's yelling about. And she's just saying how and I shouldn't have posted what I posted. And we were just arguing about the situation. And I asked, how could she do this to me? It was a very heated argument. She was yelling at the top of her lungs. I was yelling at the top of my lungs. During the argument, her dog is going crazy. And while we were arguing, we were pretty close. The dog bit me, and I said, you need to get your dog. She said, no, your dog's good. And we continued to argue. The dog came to bite me again, and that's when I grabbed what was behind me, which was a paper towel holder, and I chucked it at the dog.
So the dog bit you on the arm?
Yes, ma'am. Twice.
Okay. I would like to see a medical report on that.
Okay. All right, I have a photo of the bite, the antibiotics, and then this is the report.
Would you show this to Miss Carter, please?
Your Honor, I know she has a video of the entire incident, if you'd rather.
It's not her obligation to prove your case, as my law clerk so aptly told me the last case. Not her obligation, it's your obligation. Okay. So, go ahead.
After her dog bit me, I immediately grabbed my dog and I go to the hospital. I filled out
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a Doberman.
Where was your Doberman when this was going on?
He was in the cage and he's still a baby as well. So I went to the hospital, got treated. While I was at the hospital, Adrian called the police and she said that I attacked her dog.
Don't tell me what she said to the police unless you have a police report.
Yes, ma'am, I have a police report.
Then I'd like to see the police report. That's an official business record.
So this is the first police report from the dog bite.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so April 19th, this day, Adrian knocked on my door.
No, April 19th? What was April 19th? I thought you moved out on April 1st.
No, she moved out on April 19th.
So is what you're saying after all this altercation, she moved out?
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed in the apartment with her dog from the 29th to April 19th?
Yes, ma'am. And I went to a friend's house the day the dog bit me, and then I went home for a week, and then that's when I came back, and this second incident happened.
So after the dog bit you, you did not go home. You took your dog and left?
Yes, ma'am.
And stayed at whose house for a week?
I stayed at a friend that lives an hour away from my current apartment.
On what date did you return?
So I stayed one night at a friend's house, and then I returned, and then I went home for a week. So
when you went, stop playing with papers.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you went home for the day, was the defendant at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any conversations with her?
No, ma'am.
Just stayed out of her way and packed a few things and left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to stay?
At home in Alabama.
With your family?
Yes, ma'am. Until things cooled down, basically.
Okay. And when did you go back?
I went back, I believe, April 17th.
And what happened when you went back on the 17th?
A few days later, April 19th, Adrian was knocking on my door at 9 a.m. in the morning saying that I need to come to the leasing office because there's a new roommate here. I told her no, and then that's when she started threatening me and calling me all these kinds of names. So I take my dog again, I go outside, and I call an officer, and that's also when I call my mom, and she convinced me to go up there to speak with the new roommate to see, who they were.
What new roommate? Just a second.
She tried to get 2 young girls to replace her on the lease.
And it was unsatisfactory?
Yes, ma'am.
So far, I have a dog bite and
yes, ma'am.
Couch.
So after I said no to the 2 roommates, one didn't have a job, they looked young, I said no. I went back home. 10 minutes later, Adrian...
Home? You mean to your folks'
To our
house?
apartment.
Oh, to your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So 10 minutes later, Adrian comes in. I was in the room with my door locked. I hear Adrian yelling. I hear her throwing things. She's saying, I can't believe you did that. You really just did that. I don't care. I'm still moving out. I'm still leaving. I'm not paying rent. Blah, blah, blah. I didn't come out the room because last time it got crazy, so I just said I would let her do what she does, and I will let the authorities handle it.
She did come out the room, Your Honor.
When I finally came out the room, which I have a video, and came out, she had moved the couch in front of the door so I couldn't get out of my room. And
well, how did you get out?
I jumped over it. And the trash can was flipped upside down. I have pictures of all the damage that she did to the house and videos.
Well, I'd like to see them, please. And I would like to see the damage to the couch, which is your major complaint.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the damages, and then I have a video of the entire incident right here.
Want to tell me how that happened?
I did put chips and items that wasn't wet on the couch out of anger. I shouldn't have did it, but I did do it. And I didn't put liquid on it or anything. Literally,
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak. You had no right to even attempt to destroy it.
At all.
Later. So at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'll just do it myself so we can stop the confrontation. So then that's when the argument started, and he thought that I was kicking him out, which I never told him he couldn't come over, never told him he couldn't be a part of anything.
It's a failed business venture where you both expect. Hey, this is not a tea dance.
Roommate Adrian Carter posed for couch damage and a dog attack.
By the way, did you have any unreimbursed medical bills as a result of this dog bite? That's either a yes or a no.
No, ma'am.
When did you purchase this couch?
I purchased it the day we moved in, so it was October 7th.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,200 in total, and Adrian and I were paying on it a little bit in the beginning, but there came a time where we had to make the final payment on it, which was $1,200. When we had the argument, she didn't pay anything, so I had to pay it all by myself, and the couch is in my name.
Did the couch remain?
Yes, ma'am. The couch is at the house.
What does it look like now?
It's black, but there's it's an odor coming from the couch, and there's some stains on it.
Do you have a picture of it, what it looks like now?
No, ma'am. I just have the pictures that I gave you.
Okay, but you're still using the sofa. The answer
it's
is
a smell. No, ma'am. I don't sit on it anymore because it's a smell.
So why don't you get rid of it out of the apartment?
I'm moving October 6th, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
But you've been using it since April.
It's just been sitting there, Your Honor. I haven't had
sitting
time.
in your apartment since April.
Yes, ma'am.
April, May.
I just haven't made the time to get rid of it because I know I'm moving soon, and that's when I plan to get rid of it.
I wouldn't keep something in my house that smelled.
I work a lot, and
Would you please show this to the defendant? Want to tell me how that happened?
I did put chips and items that wasn't wet on the couch out of anger. I shouldn't have did it, but I did do it. And I didn't put liquid on it or anything. Literally,
That's not true, Your Honor.
Don't speak.
You can get a napkin and wipe it off. But that's my couch too. Maybe I didn't pay the whole thing on it, but I've made payments on that couch, and I decided not to do that full payment that she did, which was $600, because she was irresponsible and decided to rent a couch and found out that that couch was whatever amount. I made payments on that couch, and I have proof for it.
That's okay. You had no right to even attempt to destroy it.
At all.
At all. You had no right to do that.
Right.
Because that devalued the sofa.
I agree.
Okay, good. Okay. I'm actually finished with you.
Your Honor, can we please go back over the lease portion of this?
No.
Can my mom speak about what happened?
No, I said no. When there's that kind of acrimony, I actually think that before somebody gets seriously injured, when you have two large dogs and two people with hot tempers that can do this, it's a very, very good thing that they no longer live together.
Being stuck with a rent and...
Just a second. I've just answered you. This is not a back and forth.
Yes, ma'am.
On the dog bite, I am awarding you $1,000. It looks as if part of it was a black and blue mark. Certainly, I can't blame the dog for trying to protect its owner, but she's supposed to have control of her dog all the time.
And she shouldn't have started
this is not a tea dance. I'm not asking you anything. And I'm awarding you $1,200 for the sofa. That's $2,200. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Adjourned.
She just did something messed up, and I cut her off, and she didn't like it.
I literally cut her off. She's just mad that she's cut off.
She's delusional.
She's childish. She's irresponsible, and I was just sick of dealing with someone draining.
Just don't get roommates with your friends. Just move in by yourself.
I'm happy.
You had a question about the lease.
I did. So I agree that it was best for the acrimonious situation for them to separate and not to live there. So I understand your judgment saying it was better for you. You got the good end of the stick on that she left. However, the law, if you breach a lease, she did get stuck with a higher portion of rent because her roommate, although a negative situation that should have probably ended right when it did, she was stuck paying her half as well. So I thought you should have at least heard her claim on the breach of a lease, because then anyone could just say, oh, well, I don't like the situation and I feel like leaving would be a better thing, and stick their roommate with their portion of the rent, and that's not what the law says.
Well, that's true, except that this wasn't just a situation where parties weren't getting along. There's no question that she was nipped by the defendant's dog. Well, I wouldn't want to stay in that situation anyway.
Well, that would give her the right to maybe leave without paying her half of the rent, but that's not what happened.
It's also sort of acknowledged that the defendant brought two other people to take over her piece of rent. And it was in the papers, and the plaintiff did not...
She did say that she was the one that said no.
She said, I don't want those two people. Well, then the onus really falls on her to mitigate her damages. And she had no proof that she went forward to try to get another roommate. Between the two of them, they may have had an agreement, but the dispute over rent really is the defendants and the landlords. She doesn't pay her rent, and if the plaintiff pays her half of the rent, the landlord is free to go against either or both of them.
Sure, because both their names were on
Right, the lease.
Understood.
Case 2083, David versus Baroon. All parties, please step forward.
Joseph David is suing his former friend, Jonathan Borum, for podcast equipment.
Mr. David, your claim that the defendant has acoustical equipment that you purchased for what looks to be a joint venture in Mr. Borum's music podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
You were making this music podcast in the basement of your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Starting in what year?
This year of March.
And Mr. David, you were friends, you knew each other, and you knew he was in this business. I don't know, what is your business?
I deliver bread. I'm a bread vendor.
What kind of interest do you have in music? Because that's what he was doing.
Well, me and Jonathan have known each other for 20 years.
Jonathan and I have known each other.
Jonathan and I have known each other for 20 years, and he's always been in the music scene. He's an artist himself.
Well, that's what I gather. What about you?
I was just a supportive friend in it.
Okay, well, clearly you spent some money on music equipment, so it was more than being a supportive friend. If you were just being a supportive friend, then you made a gift to him of this music equipment.
No, ma'am.
You decided you wanted to be part of this music podcast. That's what you said.
Correct.
When did you make that decision?
Sometime mid-June after I had...
June of this year?
This year, correct. I had received a small amount of money, and I was able to...
From where?
A settlement from an
what?
injury, car accident.
Okay, how much did you receive?
A little under 50 grand. And I seen an opportunity for me to invest and help out and help a friend and be able to invest into something that if we blew up one day, I could receive, royalties from and money back in return. And
did you have a written agreement with him?
We did not have a written agreement.
Well, I'd like to know what the agreement was.
So he was also in the car accident with me as well. And so he's got a settlement coming. He told me this was all verbal, that once he received that money, he would pay me back at least half of the equipment.
So you would have a joint venture and he would pay you for half the equipment you purchased?
This was at the beginning, correct.
Do you remember, Mr. Borum, that conversation?
No, ma'am, Your Honor.
Were you in the automobile accident with him?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
You did not receive a settlement. Is there any reason?
We're still going through the court process.
Okay, so you're going to trial.
Actually, that's what it was set to go to trial because I didn't get the offer that my lawyer put in. So it's going to trial on my side, but on his behalf.
No, he's already settled his case.
Yeah, mine's not settled yet.
Okay. You indicate what you want is your equipment back.
No, I'd like the money back.
No, where do you get your equipment back? If it's yours.
I want the money. I don't trust that he will give me the equipment back in good condition.
Let me explain this to you, Mr. David. If that's what you want, then I'm going to let you withdraw this case and go back to small claims court. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm going to dismiss your case without prejudice, which will allow you to go back to your small claims court, or do you wish to proceed with it today?
I wish to proceed.
Great. Why did you say I'll do the editing myself?
Because he was yelling at me and I told him...
What was he yelling at you?
Because he said that the product wasn't up to par. He said...
Just a second, Mr. Borum. This is your business.
Right.
Will you tell me, did you think the product was up to par?
Claims his former friend, Jonathan Borum, is wrongfully keeping his podcast equipment.
So, when you decided to enter this, according to you, agreement, that you would be in a joint venture, when he got his money, he would pay in his half of what the equipment costs, which you indicate, I think, is about $4,400.
Correct.
What I gather is there was a session set up that was supposed to take place in your basement.
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
I believe it was around early June-ish.
Okay. And you have proof of the value of the equipment, I assume,
Correct.
and exactly what equipment there is.
Correct.
Is there, Mr. Borum, a dispute about what equipment he purchased?
Is there a dispute? Yes, ma'am.
Because he has a receipt. I just want to know if I have to go into this.
Well, on the receipt, he purchased it on his card, but we're friends. We were going in together, so he bought it on his card because he had the money.
Oh, just a second. I understand that, Mr. Borum. I'm asking you whether there is an agreement as to what the pieces he purchased on his card.
Yes, ma'am. As far as the agreement, I'm not understanding the question.
Okay. What pieces of equipment did he buy that's in your basement?
Cameras.
Camera?
Cords.
Cord?
And probably the Black Magic.
Black Magic?
Black Magic, yes, ma'am. It's a device that works.
Do you know what he's talking about?
I do.
Anything else that's down there that you purchased other than those 3 items?
Yes, ma'am. In total...
What? Shh, look at me. Tell me what else.
Total, there's 2 Panasonic cameras.
Are there 2 cameras that he purchased? 2 cameras.
Can I look down for...
I can't hear you if you're mumbling.
There's lighting, 3 lights. There's
3 lights. Did he purchase 3 lights?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
wireless mics.
How many?
It's a set of 2.
Did he purchase those?
Yes, ma'am. And not to correct you, but we purchased those.
No, you didn't pay for it.
I gave him the money. I gave him cash.
Oh, you did? You're going to show me proof of that in a moment.
Well, I don't have proof that I gave him cash. No, ma'am. Because we were friends, so...
Just a second. Okay. You have no proof? Did he give you cash?
No, ma'am. He never gave me $1.
Fine.
Not a penny.
Okay, let's go. We have 3 lights, 2 mics. What else?
HDMI cord.
He has a cord.
Blackmagic ATEM.
He has that.
256 gigabyte SD card.
What is that?
Memory card. It's a $50 memory card. It adds up.
Let's go.
The card reader, 20-foot cables, a stencil, and a table.
Just a second. A stencil and a table. Describe that.
It's for the logo that we made for the podcast. I purchased the stencil for the logo.
How much did you pay for that?
Between that and the table is $80.
Let's stay with the big ticket items, sir, Henry.
Great. Everything.
Okay. Are we finished with the list?
Yep, that's all.
Very good. How much did you pay for these things minus the $50 card in total? Show me.
Minus the $50?
Yeah.
$43.50.
Okay. And all of that is in your basement now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happened, according to what I read, there was a music session scheduled. And at the time that there was a music session scheduled, your daughter had COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
She lives on top of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how old is she?
That was in July. She's 10 months now, so probably about 8 months.
Okay. And she's cared for by both you and your wife. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I gather, Mr. David, that when you found out that there was COVID in the house, you didn't want to go into the basement.
Correct.
And that was sometime in June.
Correct.
Okay, can you tell me about that conversation?
Well, he told me that she had COVID, and then he said that his fiance may possibly have it, and he may possibly have it. He even took off work, and I filled in for him at work for 3 days because he may have had COVID or not, and he said he wasn't feeling well.
He didn't want to go in and risk it.
Correct. So I told him I do not want to continue with this interview. He said he would continue on.
You mean the interview that was supposed to take place in the basement?
Correct.
How much after, Mr. David, did you find out that the infant had COVID and that Mr. Borum and his wife were both exposed? Was the video podcast supposed to be made in the basement?
2-3 days.
Is that correct, Mr. Borum?
From anywhere between 2 to 5 days, ma'am.
And when Mr. David told you he didn't feel comfortable coming into the house, what did you say to him?
I said, okay, I would have someone else fill in his position because I understood why he didn't want to come over.
Okay, and did you have someone fill in his position?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened, Mr. Borum?
The episode got done and it wasn't up to par with Joseph's standards. So that's when the argument begun.
Okay, and the argument was what?
The argument was the guy didn't do it right, so it was a lot of bickering. So I told Joe, I just do the editing myself. And he took that as I was cutting him out.
Okay, so he was supposed to do the editing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and why did you say I'll do the editing myself?
Because he was yelling at me and I told him...
What was he yelling at you?
Because he said that the product wasn't up to par. He said...
Just a second, Mr. Borum. This is your business.
Right.
Will you tell me? Did you think the product was up to par?
I did, but I thought it was up to par, but I took his recommendation because I brought him in for production. So I was like, okay, if you don't feel like it's up to par, let's figure it out. But then we kept going back and forth. So at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'll just do it myself so we can stop the confrontation because you didn't want to tell the guy what he did wrong. So then that's when the argument started, and he thought that I was kicking him out, which I never told him he couldn't come over, never told him he couldn't be a part of anything. I just told him I wasn't going back and forth because that's why I brought you in for that.
May I see the credit card statement from the purchase of this equipment? And Mr. Borum, I want to see where you took out $2,200 from in cash. I want to see where you took. You said you paid him half.
$2,200. I didn't pay half.
Well, what'd you pay?
I never stated that.
If you're partners, that's what you have to pay. How much did you give him?
I gave him money here and there, like on all the...
That doesn't help. That doesn't help me, sir. That doesn't help me. It's a bank statement.
I didn't think I had to keep a record if we was best friends for 15 years. That's just...
I can't help you, sir. I can't help you if you say you paid a little bit here and there. I can't help you with that.
Never gave me a dime.
So when you state that if you're a friend, you're doing this to help me out as a gift for what I got going on,
Never a gift.
And then you try to bring it and take it back from me.
Mr. Borum, how many podcasts have you made since June?
Since June?
Yeah.
I believe we on episode 15, 16, something like that.
15, 16. Successfully.
Yes, ma'am.
And you intend to do this for profit?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you so far seen any profit?
Not as now, because you gotta build up.
Just a second. So not as of yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your wife work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have 2 incomes in the house.
Right.
And this is a side job for you.
Correct.
But you have to buy your own equipment because he's coming to get his equipment. That's going to be the court's order.
So if
it's
I
his equipment. It's his equipment. The equipment
so he can't gift it to me. That's what he told me he was doing because we're his friends. And he appreciated what I was doing.
This is why we're here.
Right.
And now I heard you, and I heard him, and now I'm ruling. I am making an order that he, within 5 days of today, with a marshal or a sheriff, will come and pick up his equipment.
So you,
I think,
let me giving him my equipment back is diminishing what I got
giving
going
him
on.
his equipment back.
But he never used it though.
I don't care whether he used it or not. It was a failed business venture where you both expect. This is not a tea dance. He's getting back his equipment. You and your wife have a side business going. Go buy equipment. Do you understand? 5 days, wait outside. You'll get a copy of my order. You can go get your equipment. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
The 15-year friendship, obviously, it don't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Eventually, you see the real person in somebody. That's all I can say.
You could be friends with somebody 100 years, and they gonna change.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had a good friend for a while, but really...
Man, the show gonna go on, man. Y'all know, make sure y'all watch, tune in.
I was just tolerating a really bad person.
I've had understandings with my friends similar to what the plaintiff and defendant has. One of my friends will stay in my apartment from time to time for a few nights, and I always make sure, because you never want a holdover tenant or a friend staying longer than you had anticipated, and I'll text and I'll say, okay, you're good to stay there Thursday and Friday night, let me know if there's any problems, but you gotta be gone by 9 a.m. on Saturday. Just to memorialize the understanding that I think I have, even with friends, it's just always smart to have some sort of record of a business, an understanding, a trade-off. I just think that it's good practice, even if it's just a text, something to memorialize what you believe the understanding to be.
I agree with you. Yeah. And that would make my job easy, but would eliminate this TV program.
Potentially.
Team's car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2076, Miller versus Pena.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Pena, is that your son?
Yes, it is.
The one who was driving the car?
Yes.
Okay, good. You stand up next to your father. Mr. Miller, is your claim that the defendant's son hit your car that was parked in a parking lot?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was parked in the parking lot of a high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you work in that high school?
Yes.
As what?
I'm a teacher.
What do you teach?
I teach what's called on-site continuation. It's a continuation classroom for 10th through 12th grade students.
Do you go to that school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. On what date did you park your car when you allege it was hit?
That was on March 8th, Your Honor.
You were in school that day?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you should know that in reviewing this case, Mr. Miller, because he was not there when his car was hit. Correct? And so he alleges that it was you who hit his car and then left the scene. Your father said it was not you who hit his car, and there's no proof that it was you who hit his car. That's what your father said. Before you answer my questions, I'm going to tell you that Mr. Miller has a video that he says was taken by school cameras that were zoned onto the parking lot that demonstrates that you actually did hit his car and leave. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So now we're going to go back to March 8th, and you're going to tell me what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So I drive myself to school every day, or at the time I was driving myself to school because that was my only way of getting to school.
Did you have a driver's license?
At the time, no, I did not have a driver's
So
license.
you were driving a car without a driver's license?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what kind of a car were you driving?
It was a 1991 Camaro.
Where did you get the car from?
Me and my dad had gone off the street. It was a project car.
How old are you?
17.
Did you try to take a driving test?
Yes.
When?
Back when I had turned 17, actually, in February of last year.
And you didn't pass it?
No.
Did you take the written test?
No.
What did you take in February?
The practical test.
Just the practical test, the driving test.
Yes.
And you failed that.
Yes.
So despite the fact that you failed that, you drove the car, and your father knew that you were driving the car without a license. That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Was there insurance on this car, Mr. Pena?
No, there wasn't.
So no insurance, no license. So far, not good parenting. You understand that, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so you drove yourself to school, and?
There's a parking lot that all the students, teachers, anyone who goes to school, really, they can park
Yes, nobody suggests you were trespassing in a place you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, so every morning I would park in...
Not everyone, look at me. That day, Mr. Miller's car.
Yes, Your Honor. That day, March 8th, I came to school as usual and I parked in my area, and then one of the on-school deputies that the school has, he pulled up right behind me as I parked, and he asked me for my information, he asked me for my name, my school ID.
I want to know what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
Oh, nothing happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So what you're telling me is that you did not hit Mr. Miller's car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
What car were you driving that day?
1991 Camaro.
What color is it?
Red.
How long have you been going to that school?
It's my 4th year going.
How many other people drive a 1991 Camaro? Red. Nobody.
Nobody.
And so I'm going to watch this video. Sarah, do we have the video?
I have it. So, wait, you'll see it.
You had a truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so there's no question you hit the truck. Do you want me to show you the video?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if you don't want to see the video, that's because you told me a lie.
Oh, yes, I'd like to see the video.
Absolutely. Going to watch very carefully. You pulling into a spot and the truck moved as you were pulling in. Have they shown you the video, Mr. Pena?
They showed me a different version of that video.
Well, I've just seen the version that I saw. Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Saw the truck move, did you?
Yes, I did.
When you were pulling in next to it?
Yes, I was.
When you were pulling in next to it? So that didn't happen because there was an earthquake. That happened because you hit the truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. Now we understand each other, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. That's a yes. Okay. Can I see pictures of your truck, please, and the estimate to repair it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you seen the photographs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Totally consistent, right? Mr. Miller, you're from California?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regularly teach today?
Yes.
So you had to take a day off.
Yes, I have a substitute today, yes.
How many days off are you allowed?
10 per year. I've accumulated quite a few because I don't take many days off.
You get paid for those days?
I get compensated because I have sick days or personal necessity days.
The reason I'm asking you these questions, Mr. Miller, because it's no question that you are entitled to have your car fixed. But that's, to me, even though that's all you're requesting, I think the fact that Mr. Pena allowed his son to drive a car without insurance and without a license, not only without a license, but knowing that his son took a driving test the month before and failed it, which means that he was not a good driver. Not a good enough driver to get a driver's license. And I have a lot of people in my family that don't drive well, that I don't like to be in the car with. But they all have driver's licenses because they managed to pass a driving test. So I know that you are only requesting the $1,524, but I'm actually awarding you $2,500. And that's for the aggravation of instead of Mr. Pena saying to you, I'm sorry my son hit your car, because either his son lied to him.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Either his son lied to him, or his son told him the truth, but he lied to me. And he's the grown-up. He set an example for his son that said it's okay to break the law. Not only for you, because you take the car to school. Take the car to school, even though you failed. Take the car to school. It has no insurance. If you hit somebody in that car and you seriously injure them, that car has no insurance. Car has no insurance. He has nothing to lose. Car has no insurance, but the person who he hit, person whose property he may have destroyed, they have no recourse. You understand, sir? That's a bad parental example. You want to say something to me or not?
Yes, I do.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not, as a parent, the lesson you should be teaching. And whether or not you like the way the sheriff spoke to him, that is total. I don't care whether you like it or not.
That's what I do.
I don't care whether you like it or not. Did your son come home from school that day and say, I hit somebody's car?
He did it.
No, he didn't.
Nowhere.
And when, just a second. And when you asked him whether he hit somebody's car, what did he tell you? Just be careful.
He said, I think.
Just a second. I think.
Sheriff and him.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not, as a parent, the lesson you should be teaching. First of all, you allowed your son to violate the law. You allowed it. And then, I would certainly know whether I caused that much damage. He knew that that car moved. So either he lied to you or you lied to me. And whether or not you liked the way the school official spoke to him or the sheriff spoke to him, that is totally irrelevant to me. That shouldn't be the takeaway from this. The takeaway from this is you're supposed to follow the rules. The rules are meant for everybody, and that includes you and your kid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Police officer came behind me when I parked and accusing me that I hit someone.
The school deputy saw the video through the car, so he approached the student.
The person who I supposedly hit came out with a megaphone yelling at me.
There is no megaphone, so I don't know where that came from.
Told me that I'd hit him. So I was kind of like freaking out. I didn't really know what to think.
If it happened to me, he could hit someone else. And
I didn't know I hit your car. Did I hit your car? I didn't even know what to think. I could have sworn I did not.
This was fortunate that it was just a parked car in a parking lot.
It is time to get his license, yes. That's correct.
It is time to get the car fixed and just get some closure on this.
In our family, we would call that contact a love tap. And as someone who has had a few run-ins potentially with stationary objects, I will tell you.
Not potentially.
I will tell you, you know when you hit a stationary object, even if it's just a light little love tap. So I just thought it was outrageous that the defendants, father and son, they knew that there was a video and still took the position of, nope.
Well, his father's position was, I didn't like the way they spoke to my son, and therefore, I'm not responsible. They shouldn't have spoken to him. I mean, he's 17 years old, but he looks like a man. He's taller than his father, you know.
You have to take responsibility.
But you have to take responsibility and not drive a car, especially. You failed a driving test. The most basic thing. I mean, you know, we have
I will say, I did pass on the first try, so.
Yes, but we have people in our family who actually did not.
Okay, yes.
And they didn't drive a car.
Yeah.
Until they could pass a driving test.
And their parents were the first ones to say, no shot until you pass that test.
Absolutely.
So parents need to be responsible as well.
Case 2104, Berkland versus Lefkowitz. All party, please step forward.
Shannon Berkland is suing her former roommate, Ian Lefkowitz, for unpaid rent and eviction costs.
Ms. Berkland, how long had you lived in your residence?
Prior to the defendant moving in?
Yes.
2 years.
And how long did you live there with the defendant?
A total of 5 years.
You lived
with the defendant, 3 years.
3 years.
This month would have been.
And for most of that 3-year period, what kind of work do you know that the defendant did?
Computer work and music producing.
How do you support yourself, sir?
I produce music. I don't do computer work.
Produce music for whom?
Various artists and brands and whatever.
How long have you been doing that?
Since I was 13 years old.
How old are you now?
32.
You have a corporation or an LLC?
Not currently standing, but I do have one that is out of commission right now. That needs to be reestablished.
When was the last time you filed tax returns?
Last
April.
Last April, yeah.
And on your tax returns that you filed, how much did you indicate that you earned?
I receive royalties from a company called, and they take my taxes out automatically, so I'm not sure how much.
I'm asking you how much you reported your gross income was when you filed your tax returns in April.
They come automatically is what I'm saying. I didn't file them. They're paid for and filed automatically by the company that distributes my royalties.
So is what you're saying you didn't file tax returns in April?
I assume that they're filed automatically through this company that pays me.
Mr. Lefkowitz, when was the last time you put a stamp on tax returns that you sent to the government?
I do not know.
Ever? Did you think?
No.
Ever?
Like I said, where I make most of my money, if not all my money, comes through a company called, which they take out the taxes automatically before paying me. So I've never filed through that. I just assumed that it was already taken care of in that way.
You assumed wrong.
Okay.
Okay. There came a time, Mr. Lefkowitz, you lived there for 3 years, but there came a time when you stopped paying rent.
Correct.
And what was your rent when you moved in with the plaintiff?
$1,200 a month.
You had your own room?
Yes.
Bathroom?
Yes.
You moved in what month and year?
2019 in October.
And as you said, most of your money comes from royalties, and I assume that's royalties on past work.
Yes.
And you've been existing on that for how long?
8 years or so.
So how much do you make from these royalties? You pay $1,200 a month rent, you have a car.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an answer.
Yes.
You have a car. So you have a car, you have insurance.
Yes.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Honda Clarity.
What year?
It's a lease. It's a 2021.
And how much do you pay a month for the lease?
$395.
Does that include insurance or does it not include insurance?
Does not include insurance.
So you pay an additional how much for insurance?
About $350.
So you spend $700 a month for your car.
Correct.
And let's get back to you moved in October of 2019. Your rent was $1,200 a month. And you lived there until when?
Until about 2 months ago. So September 4th or 3rd is when I moved all my stuff out.
And when was the last month you paid rent?
That would have been in December of 2021.
So you lived there January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and part of September. So at least 8 months that you lived there and didn't pay rent.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't there for August, pretty much the
Your things were there.
Sure.
If your things are there, you're there.
Okay.
Because that's part of what she's suing for. Rent that you didn't pay. Mm-hmm. Are you still living there?
No.
Why not?
I was evicted.
When?
The exact date is August 2nd. I do have my paperwork for notice to vacate and all that stuff. Sure.
On August 2nd of
I'm sorry, that was the court date, and that's when the judgment was made, was August 2nd.
And when did you move out?
2 weeks later.
That's not true.
And you were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months. Yes.
Just a second. You were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months.
Well, show me that it was for 2 months. I just want to see that it was for 2 months and what 2 months those were.
That page right there.
No, you didn't leave until, let's say, September 1st.
That sounds more like it.
You didn't leave until September 1st.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did mistakenly speak. I do remember that the judge...
Don't tell me what the judge said I missed.
And I...
No.
I don't have a receipt. I don't have a receipt for payment.
Then just say I didn't pay rent for June and July.
I did not pay rent for June.
That's well, just answer that question. So you didn't pay rent for
yeah.
June and July.
Yeah.
Here we go. And you didn't pay for April, May, June, and July. I know you didn't pay for August. There's no question you didn't pay for August, and you were actually there in August, so you didn't pay for 5 months.
I guess, yes.
Okay, yes. And the reason that you didn't pay rent for those 5 months was what?
I had spent all my savings on paying rent, and I had none left. I paid as much as I could, supporting him.
Just a second.
The best I could, and I...
What happened is you both sort of took advantage of this rent moratorium.
Not true.
Well, if you didn't pay rent for April, May, June, July, and August, what were you doing?
Waiting for him to pay his rent because I couldn't afford to pay for my station.
Just a second.
Yeah.
You didn't pay any rent. You didn't say to the landlord, I have a roommate. I can't take care of him. I'm giving you my half of the rent.
Well, I know there's a moratorium for COVID, and the government shut my business down.
That's what he says.
I knew that I had protection.
That's what he says. He's saying the exact same thing you are in his answer.
Did he go to court and do the paperwork and do the filings and
Who cares?
And I do.
Who cares? I don't. Each of you seems to be living. You operate your hair business out of your house.
In addition to
just
another business, yes.
Whatever. You operate your hair business out of the house. He operates, I don't know what he does, but I know he's 32 years old, supports himself, spends $700 a month on a car, spent for a long time $1,200 a month rent, and can't remember the last year or the last decade that he filed tax returns. So whatever it is, this is your problem, Miss Birkeland, and this is what I actually didn't understand when I read your complaint, because what you're looking for is 8 months rent from him.
Correct.
You didn't pay the rent.
I shouldn't be evicted. I asked him to leave every month that he didn't pay me.
Should have read a cutter.
I had a business as a hairdresser, and I went out to rent a station, and I was out for 4 months to pay for a station.
It doesn't
because
matter.
I wanted to go back to be my nice space that I had created for myself, and I've worked my butt off for, and my clients liked. I wasn't getting paid rent for his room. I wanted to move my studio into his room and make it my hair salon, so I can have 2 businesses now out of my home. I have 0 income, 0 businesses. My life has not been easy, and this home was the one thing that I've worked my ass off for. It's the only thing in life that I loved.
Miss Birkeland, did you say to your landlord,
yes,
I have a roommate.
Yes.
He's not paying me his half of the rent, but I want to show you in good faith, I am going to give you my portion of the rent. You didn't do that.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, show me. Just a second. Show me. All I know is they say this is your evidence for the full amount of the rent for April and May. And I know you didn't pay June, July, August, and September. I know you didn't pay that, so I'm asking you, just show me some proof, Miss Birkeland, that you said to your landlord, who is also in business of renting space for which they are requesting rent paid in a timely fashion, and then they've got 2 people who decide, well, we have a rent moratorium. I'm not in any worse position now than before, so I'm just not going to pay rent.
Your Honor, I was...
Just show me that you made partial payment to the landlord for April, May, June, July, and August.
I don't have that because I was protected under the law.
Okay, good. And so is he.
Your Honor, wait.
Dismissed.
I
We're
have
finished.
one question.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Listen,
I can prove
you
to
two
you
are so.
that I
You're just.
attempted to
You're
pay
just.
full rent after
You
he
two.
was gone, and I was able to bring my business into the house.
You two are soulmates. You both relied.
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Out.
This court is adjourned.
Soulmates. You both took advantage of a law, and you both lost. Goodbye.
I have nowhere to operate both of my businesses. I created one during COVID.
We both exercised our rights under California tenant laws. And,
which I would have had I had a room that he wouldn't leave.
You know, that's just what it is.
Every month I pleaded with him.
It never happened.
I cried, I fought.
She never asked me to leave crying, approached me or nothing.
If it can be helped, don't have a roommate.
I'm glad you didn't give her any money. But if you were going to award any money in this case, it should go to the landlord, because the plaintiff did the exact same thing using the exact same legal loophole that was created during COVID for people who really were struggling and not being able to afford their rent, and now she sues him for doing the exact same thing that she did. So the landlord is really the only one out here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And if you could write a check to the landlord, that would be fine, but the landlord isn't a party. I have a feeling that there are a lot of very small landlords, not people that own giant buildings, but people who have, their real estate businesses are small. They may have 2 or 3 or 4 apartments that they rent. They maintain them, whatever. She was living there for a while, clearly happy with this situation because she lived there for 5 years. Well, why just not pay your rent if you're still doing hair in the apartment? That's a business. That's what you're doing. He's still collecting. You owned your own plane, and he hit a cone and caused substantial damage to the propeller and the engine.
Those cones are made of plastic.
I don't care. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that the plane flew perfectly fine before you hit the cone.
This is Judy Justice. Albert Lee is suing pilot instructor Ed Meyer for damage resulting from Ed moving his plane.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2145, Lee versus Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lee, you are an amateur pilot?
Yes, I was yes.
And you owned your own plane?
I bought it to train in, yes.
When did you purchase the plane?
In, I believe, April of 2021.
Did you buy it new or used?
I bought it used.
What kind of plane is it?
It's a Cirrus SR-22, 2010 type Golf.
What did you pay for it?
I paid $420,000 for it, I believe.
Is there a mortgage on the...
Yes, there is.
How much?
It's $2204 per month.
You paid $425,000 for the plane?
Yeah, I put a down payment on it. The outstanding balance is $347,000. The payment per month is $2,000.
Okay. I don't need the payment per month. I just wanted to know what you paid for it and how much you put into the plane.
Yes.
The defendant is a pilot, licensed pilot, and he was giving you some training on the plane.
Certified flight instructor, yes.
It is your claim that at some point, and you'll tell me when, that the defendant was operating the plane by himself. You weren't there, and he was moving it from one part of the FBO to another part, and he hit a cone and caused substantial damage to the propeller and the engine. And while your insurance did cover some of it, according to you, it did not cover all of the expenses, and you want Mr. Meyer to be responsible for that. So it's a simple question. Mr. Meyer, do you remember the date that you were operating the plane when Mr. Lee was not there?
Yes.
What date?
It was in April sometime.
April of 2022?
Correct.
Do you remember the date, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
What date?
It's April 22nd.
Would that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And from what I read in the papers, Mr. Meyer had in fact taken you out, but then the weather got bad. You decided that you would make your way home and that he would get the plane home when the weather was better.
Correct.
And that was on or about April 22nd.
I flew home on a commercial flight the day before on April 21st.
And you stayed with the plane?
Yes.
Now, would you agree, Mr. Meyer, that if in fact you hit an object with the plane, it would be your responsibility?
Yes.
Because it would mean that there was some sort of negligence involved.
Right.
And then that would be the issue of damages. Mr. Lee, you were not present when this incident happened.
I was not.
Not present.
I was not present. I was able...
No, you were not present.
I was not present.
That's the answer. Was this witness present?
He was not present, but he was the one responsible for procuring the evidence on what happened and how the propeller was damaged.
Who does he work for?
He has his own flight school, and he also manages my airplane in terms of the maintenance and the upkeep.
Okay. Could you step up, please? Tell me your last name.
Last name is Williams.
Mr. Williams, were you charged with gathering the evidence to determine what happened to the plane on the 22nd of April?
Yes, I was.
And you're paid a monthly fee by the plaintiff to manage his plane?
That's correct.
Did you retain the defendant as an instructor, or did Mr. Lee?
That was both decided by Mr. Lee and Mr. Myers to fly for him.
But you
He's
did
an
not...
independent contractor.
You did not have anything to do with, as the manager of the plane, you didn't have anything to do with selecting Mr. Meyer.
I did select Mr. Meyer to fly with Albert.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. Because were you the one who introduced him to Mr. Meyer?
That's correct.
When, Mr. Lee, did you start to work with Mr. Meyer?
It was probably a prior flight where we flew to San Francisco for a business meeting I had. After that, I believe it was...
In what month?
Roughly about the same month.
In April?
Yeah, in
so
April.
you didn't know him for a long time?
No, not very long.
I'm going to get back to you in a minute, Mr. Williams. Prior to the defendant, had anybody else been an instructor for you?
Yes, Clinton was my primary instructor, but I flew with some other instructors as well.
But it wasn't until the month that this incident occurred that you had been connected with the defendant?
Correct.
Okay. Now, sir, how were you advised that the plane that you managed was in an accident?
I received a phone call from Ed saying that there was a problem.
From whom?
From Mr. Myers, that there was a problem with the aircraft after he taxied and did the run-up and returned the aircraft back to Signature in Las Vegas. We notified and contacted a
Did you ask, what you would usually ask is what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Just a second, and what did he say to you?
He said that he was having instrument problems with the aircraft and he wasn't able to take off, so he returned the aircraft. At that point in time, I contacted the Service Center. I had 2 technicians go out and look at the aircraft, see what was wrong. At the time, the technicians found that they...
Don't tell me what they found.
Okay.
You can't tell me what they found. It's hearsay.
They sent me pictures of the damage of the propeller.
May I see the photographs? Okay, so that's a fresh damage.
Correct.
Can I scroll this?
Yes, you may.
Or it's just one? Okay, so you have a picture of that. You have a picture of the cone that has a slice in it.
Correct, that's the object he hit. We also have a video showing the plane taxiing and hitting the cone at the...
I'd like to see that as well.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what we got.
As you can see where the...
Just one second, Mr. Meyer, is that a fair and accurate representation of where the plane was before you moved it?
It should be the last, on the far left side of that Learjet.
Okay. Oh. Mr. Meyer, do you see that you went over a cone?
It's interesting. I didn't even notice there was a cone.
You may not notice it, but you see it now.
Yes.
Okay. Your hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little single-prop plane. Yeah, they're like those planes you put together, we used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
Albert Lee claims pilot instructor Ed Meyer is responsible for damage after Ed moved Albert's plane.
Okay.
In all of my years of flying, which is pretty significant, I was an airline pilot too, I've never ever experienced that in my life.
Okay, but you see it now.
Yes.
It's not an on purpose. It's, that's why they call them accidents. We don't mean for them to happen.
Right.
We don't mean for them to happen, but you do see that the plane did hit a cone.
Right.
Okay, and I have photographs of the cone that has a slice in it, and the same kind of slice from one of the propellers. Now, so that's conceded that Mr. Meyer did in fact hit the cone, which in all probability caused damage to the plane, caused damage to the propeller. Now tell me about your insurance.
The insurance covered the propeller. They covered the teardown of the engine. When something strikes the propeller, they have to tear apart the engine, make sure the components...
Do you have those?
I
that
do.
paperwork for me? I'd like to see it.
Okay, so here is the insurance covered portion, and here is my covered portion that I had to come out of pocket to pick up the plane.
Okay.
And I can explain both invoices. And if you flip to the last page, that'll have the total. Insurance covered about 60-something thousand for the propeller and the engine teardown.
Okay. So the damaged propeller, Mr. Williams, causes you to have to take apart the engine, fix the engine if there was damage to the engine. Am I correct?
That's correct. The FAA requires anytime you strike an object with a propeller, the engine has to be inspected in the component parts. So they...
Well, component parts of the engine?
Yeah, with the damage, potential damage of the engine. Internal damage that could be caused by striking an object.
Okay. The insurance covered how much, sir? Mr. Lee?
It's on the invoice 60, I think it was 63,000, 64,000. It's on the last page.
The last page shows
a deposit of
$63,000.
Yes, that's it.
The deposit was 40, balance due was 23. Did the insurance company pay the entire
The entire
$63,000? This is what was submitted to them.
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like you to take a look at this, Mr. Meyer. No, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Williams to take a look at this document. These are the items, Mr. Williams, that Mr. Lee says were uncovered. I would like you to go through all those items and tell me which of those items relate to the engine and which do not.
Okay, is this the total?
Carefully, because I'm going to potentially ask you about each individual thing, because there looks to me like some things that bear no relation to an engine.
Okay, so most of the items you see that are airworthiness on the airframe are the items that need to be inspected or replaced from the teardown. So your item 1, item 2, 3, 4, item 5, 6, 7, 8. These are all items that the repair shop goes through the engine and assesses whether it needs.
Well, tell me how the brakes would be impacted.
I don't think
impacted by hitting the.
Which one?
And I don't know. And how brakes would be impacted by hitting a nose cone.
Brake lining. I don't know if you do.
Okay. Yeah, some of these items, Your Honor, such as one of these items, the brake lines, as you pointed out, is probably not part of the.
Well, that's what I want you to go through, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand? I want you to take a marker, a pen, and circle, because I don't know a whole lot about airplanes, but I know a little bit about airplanes. I know what's routine maintenance and what has to be taken care of, because a plane either falls on its nose or falls on its tail, both of which I've experienced.
Well, this is a small invoice. This is not your. This is.
Mr. Williams, don't ask him. I didn't ask you to have a conference with him.
Okay.
I asked you to look at that. You're the management company. I want you to strike those items that are not related to this accident and go through them very carefully, because.
Can I make a comment?
Okay. No.
To you directly.
Nope.
Okay.
Can I ask you something?
Can you ask me something?
Yeah. Well, they should tell you those cones are made of plastic.
I don't care. They're heavy cones. You hit the cone, and the plane flew perfectly fine before you hit the cone. It didn't run after you hit the cone. You don't have to be a genius to figure out the cone caused, your hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little this is a single prop plane?
Right.
Yeah. They're like those planes you put together, we used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
The only items I can see, Your Honor, are 2 items that may not be related to the accident, items 7 and 8.
Okay, may I have that back, please, sir? And you are familiar with planes, sir, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what you're saying is item
The circled item.
7 and 8.
Correct.
So we have.
There's a couple of.
We have right and left main gearbox, which is 143 plus 270 plus 66. What about item 9? Pitch, trim, jab, nut, loose. What is that?
Probably what they do during the inspection and the teardown, they go through the aircraft itself, make sure it's airworthy. So they probably caught another item or 2. You can probably put that on item that's wasn't part of the accident.
The big ticket items, adding up all of these items, Mr. Meyer, that probably have no relation to the accident which you caused.
Correct.
Still bring the total amount to more than this court's jurisdictional limit. Can you tell me, sir, why your insurance, Mr. Williams, let's go back to you. You manage this plane. Can you tell me why Mr. Lee's insurance didn't cover all the damage to the plane?
A lot of the prospective renters or instructors that everybody uses, or we used in this case, carry their own insurance for this type of incident. Their insurance covers basically downtime, loss of operation, or in this case.
You mean Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Would have his own. Do you have your own insurance?
No.
No. Don't you do a check to find out if they have their own insurance before you recommend someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed.
If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you.
Albert Lee is accusing pilot instructor Ed Meyer of hitting a cone and damaging his plane. Ed says Albert was already paid by his insurance company.
Okay, Mr. Williams, you were the one who recommended
That's
Mr.
correct,
Meyer.
he did.
Don't you do a check to find out if they have their own insurance before you recommend someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed.
Well, that he didn't have insurance. I get that all the time. If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah. As a flight school, our instructors are required to carry the insurance.
Okay, but that didn't happen here.
That's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you, because you managed the plane for him. And you recommended him, Mr. Williams. You know, when you have a management company that manages your plane, they're supposed to make certain that if you have a certain kind of plane, that you have pilots certified to fly those kinds of planes. And if they give me a list of pilots and those pilots aren't certified, to fly the kind of plane that I might have, then it's the fault of the management company.
In this case here, the plaintiff and the defendant were working together as far as their payment and their fees they were going to charge.
That's okay. They may have been working head to head. I mean, it was Mr. Meyer's fault, but I'm just telling you that Mr. Lee relies on your advice. What business are you in, Mr. Lee?
I do commercial real estate. I sell shopping centers and office buildings.
Okay, that's not his business. That's why he hires you. And if he hires you, he asks you for recommendations as to where to get the plane repaired, for an instructor. Now, the fact that he may pay him independently, he's relied on you for information, so I suggest, Mr. Williams, that you tighten up your ship a little bit. Mr. Meyer, you're responsible to the plaintiff for the damage that you caused his plane. Why did you let your insurance lapse?
It had lapsed. I just didn't even realize the fact that it had lapsed. I just realized the fact that when this came about, that's what happened.
Well, when was the last time you paid premiums?
Probably about a year before that.
Anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Meyer? You owe him $10,000. You caused the damage. You have to fix it. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I understand her point, the fact that what she saw.
I thought she's very fair.
These cones are made out of plastic.
It's hard to believe. It sounds like a gunshot, and he hit the cone and triggered several warnings. And for him to say he had no idea, it's a little bit hard to believe.
They don't have much weight to them.
With the loud bang after you hit it, it's quite obvious that you should have stopped and shut down and inspect the damage.
There normally is never a cone at the 12 o'clock position. They're at the left side and the right side.
They place cones all the way around the aircraft, and it's part of your responsibility as a pilot in command to do a walk around pre-flight, make sure there's no object in front of your aircraft.
When I taxied out halfway down, that's when I recognized there was an ICAS message that came up.
I finally got it back, and no more student pilots won't let any CFIs fly for a while.
You know what I thought about in this case here? That lay people have to look at something, lay people, and while I'm a judge and have certain expertise, I have no expertise in reading slips that show what's been done on a car or an airplane or a train or a boat.
But we have common sense.
But we have common sense. And your brakes are not part of an engine. Yeah. You know, you have an engine job, and then you have a brake job, and you have a...
I saw where you were going.
different kind. And, you know, if you have an accident that impacts on the right driver's door, if you put in a new wheel casing in the left rear door, well, that has nothing to do with an accident.
Probably just an oversight. He did state that those two items were not part of,
He did.
He did at the end, but it just feels a little uneasy when they try and slip those things in there, that just common sense doesn't ring true, that it comes from the sides.
Yeah, you know, front, back, you know, the head of a horse, the tail of a horse, it doesn't fit in. And there's really no difference between not having insurance when you're driving a car and not having insurance as a flight instructor. Yeah, that's pretty serious.
I would think there would be a more rigorous check on that before you get behind an aircraft, the wheel of an aircraft.
Absolutely. You would think that there would be. Yeah. There's a flaw in the system someplace. Okay, I'm glad nobody was hurt. Miss Gallen, you are a home health aide.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to any particular school or have any training to be a home health aide?
Well, I went to CNA nursing school, so I'm
CNA?
What certified nursing assistant.
And you've been doing that for over a decade?
Correct.
Do you need any license in the state where you're from in order to be a CNA?
CNA, yes. Caregiver, no.
But you have a license from CNA?
Yes, ma'am, and also have a license for a medical assistant.
Now, there came a time when you answered some sort of an ad by Mr. Webster. Mr. Webster had a mother who was ill and needed some assistance in caring for her. Are you a working man, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a caterer and a DJ, and also a driver.
Do you get any salary from any of those jobs?
It ranges from job to job.
Usually, how much?
For DJing, a couple hundred.
Couple hundred for how many hours?
It's basically by the job, the location, things of that nature. So it can vary.
Caterer.
Catering, we're building a family business, so basically getting started with it. Probably made as much as $1,800 before for a catering event. So again, it was brand new prior to the pandemic.
Okay, what's your steadiest source of income?
Driving as of now.
How much do you make approximately an hour driving?
Now, probably $22 with the subtractions. For
$22 an hour?
Yes.
Is that with or without your tips?
That's with tips.
Did you always live with your mother?
I lived with her for quite some time.
Say within the last 10 years.
Within the last 10 years, I moved out 3.5 years ago. Due to illness, I was staying with her, so I was not really able to work. During that time, I went to school to become a caterer, cook, etc., culinary school, business school, because I did have aspirations to open a restaurant eventually, or a catering business eventually.
So you didn't live with your mother for the last 3.5 years?
No, Your Honor.
What kind of illness did she have?
My mother was diagnosed initially with COPD. I forgot exactly what those words are, but it's a pulmonary. It's with her.
I know it's COPD. It's a pulmonary disease.
You're better than me. Then there's also emphysema, along with some other things that I was not made aware of until she passed away.
How old was she?
68 years old.
A kid?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long was she bedridden? From when to when?
November 23rd until her death date of April 30th.
So all the time that the plaintiff took care of her, she was bedridden?
Yes, Your Honor.
And was your mother pretty strong-willed?
Yes, very much so, Your Honor.
And the COPD and emphysema was in all probability, at least in part, if not in all, attributed to her smoking.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, according to your complaint, Miss Gallion, you worked for Mr. Webster in taking care of his mother, with whom he didn't live. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did anyone else live with her?
My son lived with her.
How old is he?
He's 29 years old now.
What does he do?
He was working at the time for Tesla.
He was, but he's no longer.
No longer.
But at this time, he was working for Tesla.
He was working for Tesla.
The whole time.
Yes, Your Honor. The whole time
right?
from being released from the hospital up until her death day. Yes, Your Honor.
Now, the house belonged to your mother.
Via rent, but yes, Your Honor.
She rented it?
Yes, Your Honor.
She was a rentor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So her grandson just stayed there with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
So he slept there, and you were supposed to come during the day?
Yes, Your Honor.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Saturday.
Okay. Now, do you have the ad that you got from the defendant?
I do.
I see it, Kevin, please. Thank you.
I also have the messages, Your Honor, from that ad.
Let me just read this. Okay, so you were asking for somebody good to take care of your mother because she was a great caretaker all of her life.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very nice.
All of my life.
All of your life.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in it, he says IHSS for now. Would you explain what that is?
It's in-home supportive services.
From the federal government or the state?
From the state, if I'm not mistaken.
And you are from the state of?
California.
Well, this is what he wrote. So when you spoke to him with the same parameters of your employment as contained in his ad, that you would be working for IHSS for now, maybe more in the future. I don't know what that means. I assume it means that if it works out, you'd be paying her in addition to what she was making with IHSS.
No, Your Honor, I don't.
What does it mean? IHSS for now.
Yes.
Maybe more. What does that maybe more mean?
I honestly can't recollect what that meant. I am aware that I did send that text message or that Facebook post.
Is there anything in any of the text messages you have that indicates what maybe more is?
Yeah, just verbally, he stated out of his mouth that anything extra him and his son would pay out of pocket.
Okay, extra like what?
That extra hours, if the hours that I agreed to work to, if it needed to be extended, my traveling time, my toll from where I was driving from, he was supposed to
reimburse you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Now, you started working when?
February 24th was my first day.
From February 24th until April what?
23rd.
And that was 6 days a week?
It varied because depending on my schedule, so every other week I would work Monday through Friday, and then the additional weeks I work Monday through Saturday.
So it's between 5 and 6 days a week. And how many hours a day were you working?
5.
So when you came into work, was the grandson still there?
Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't.
And if he wasn't, Miss Webster was alone?
Correct.
And when you left, was she alone?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, hopefully, the son came back to assist her at night.
From my understanding, there was another caregiver that was supposed to be there at nighttime, which I never saw, so I'm not sure.
Did you have another caregiver there at night?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who was that?
Her name was...
How long was she there?
You mean her work time or her duration of employment?
Duration of employment.
The same time that Tracy started.
Did she get paid?
I'm not aware of...
Just a second. Did you fill out papers for...
Your Honor...
That's it.
No.
If you didn't fill out papers for her, then either she was working for nothing or she got paid from you directly. But before you answer me, you had a nighttime person who was hired at the same time the plaintiff was. Either she was paid from an agency, or she was paid from you, or she did it gratuitously. And what was it? Had your son ever applied to be caregiver for your mother? Think carefully before you answer that question, because this one knows all. Had your son ever applied to, if she was not paid by the agency because she didn't get paid, then say she never got any money from the agency. And if you never filled out any paperwork, she couldn't have gotten paid by the agency.
Correct. Well,
why don't you just...
Let me rephrase that, because this is where the trepidation comes along. Neither of the caregivers were properly inputted into in-home supportive care system. So there's an allotment that is allowed where caregivers can work in hopes of having a large lump sum payment once they get their paperwork, background check, and everything else taken care of. So up until the 29th, no one had gotten paid because no one had their paperwork taken care of yet. So it's on the 29th when that starts to come about. So I personally never signed any paperwork for neither of the caregivers.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's what he's saying. So he signed no paperwork. And she worked for you from February to March, March to April, for 2 months. How much did you pay her in the 2 months that she worked there?
Out of my pocket, I paid her $110 with a caveat. It was the first time that she worked on a Saturday. I asked her to do so because I had...
Just tell me how much you paid her.
$110.
Anything else?
Because I had a calendar DJing event. I was not fielding anything up until that point.
Mr. Webster.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You seem like a nice man. It's going to cost you money. You can either make it easy or make it hard. From February to April, did your son work?
Yes, Your Honor. He worked at Tesla.
Then I'm not finished with you with that. Your son worked for Tesla. I assume Tesla paid him.
I'm assuming he got paid too, Your Honor.
And when you worked as a caterer, I assume you got paid.
I was not working as a caterer during that time, Your Honor.
Were you working as a driver during that time?
I did work as a driver during that time, Your Honor.
Did you get paid?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to the plaintiff getting hired and this other woman, had your son ever applied to be caregiver for your mother? Think carefully before you answer that question. Think very carefully, because this one knows all. Had your son ever applied to be your mother's caregiver?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Oh, makes it so easy. And when did he apply to be your mother's caregiver?
According to the information I have, which I was just made aware of.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a lot of... Your son is in your mother's house.
Yes.
You're there all the time because you're interested in your mother. You are the next of kin. You have to sign off. Did your son sign up to be your mother's caregiver, and when? Give me the month, day, and year that he signed up.
According to the paperwork I have, I'd have to look at it because I don't...
Look at it. You can look at it, digest it. Give me the date. See, Sarah, it's what's on paper. It doesn't always make sense, right?
Yeah.
You know?
You figure it out along the way.
Follow the money.
Yeah. Always.
Always got to follow the money.
Leads you right to where you want to be.
Let's go.
According to the paperwork I have here, his paperwork was started on August of 2021.
When was it signed?
It does not state that.
And she started working in February. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So between August and February, Mr. Webster, who took care of your mother?
My son lived with her. He's, according to this, I was not privy to this information before.
Let me understand something.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is not a House Select Committee investigation, sir. This is just a court where I'm trying to figure out who took care of your mother, who was unable to take care of herself from August until February when you got another caregiver, and whether that person was signed up to get in-home health benefits. So the answer is, partially I know that your son, who lives with her rent-free...
No. I'm sorry, not with my mother, not rent-free.
Lives with her.
Yes.
Maybe not, then maybe Kevin and I are paying the rent. You never can tell. I don't know how much, and I can't ask you how much money your son made between August and February, but maybe she got a little too difficult for him to deal with because in stages of being sick that way, you require a lot more help than you want your grandson to take care of. And so you needed somebody else. Now, I've just about, Mr. Webster, reached the end of creating the picture in this case, but the plaintiff was there, and so far you've given her $100 in 2 months. You got paid during that time period. Your son who worked for Tesla got paid during that time period. You can bet your bottom booty that I got paid during that period because I worked. Nobody said to me, well, you didn't get your form in right there. We're not paying you. Really, you're not paying me. You can find me today getting my pedicure. She stayed, even though she didn't get paid. Now, if she didn't work for you, could you or your son have gone out to do their other work? Or would you have left your mother alone? What would you have done?
Possibly made other arrangements, Your Honor.
Possibly. You mean get another sucker to work for free? You think that she should work for free? You think that she should work for free?
No, Your Honor, but I don't think she should smoke cigarettes with my mother.
Listen, you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is stupid.
Okay.
Your counterclaim is stupid. You just told me before your mother is the kind of woman that would do exactly what she wants to do. And what you think yourself, since you're not there and off doing your thing, somebody who's terminally ill, not getting better. You knew that, right?
I did know that.
You did know that. And if your mother chose an easier way to go than the one you selected for her, that would have been her prerogative. That's also a fair statement.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you didn't like the caring that she did for your mother, but actually her leaving had to do with your not paying her. You didn't fire her. Okay, let's put it this way. Did you fire her?
No, Your Honor, because I did not have the power to do so.
You did not fire her.
No, Your Honor.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who is Ron Webster?
I am Ron Webster.
You hired her.
No, Your Honor.
Well, this is you. Need a good caregiver for my mom. Need. That means I need.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, let's go to one other place. Okay, and then I'll let you talk. Right now, it doesn't seem to be that you're losing, right?
Yes.
How much do you think the time that she worked there, taking care of your mother, was worth?
Your Honor, I personally cannot put a price on that. I know she's contracted through IHSS for $16 per hour.
Did your mother have a life insurance policy?
My mother had a couple of life insurance policies, yes.
What were they, and who were the beneficiaries?
I was a beneficiary.
Of what? How much?
The total was $3,700, Your Honor.
Did she have a separate policy for her burial?
No, Your Honor.
Did she own any property anywhere?
No, Your Honor.
So what was the total you received from the estate?
The policies was set to pay $1,300, which I have not received all.
You mean in addition to the $3,700, you will receive another $1,300?
$13,000 is what I meant to say. If I said $1,300, I misspoke. $13,000 total.
How much did you pay for the internment, the service, if there was one, whatever? How much did you pay? You paid for it, I assume, out of this money.
I have not done all the math. It's upwards of $15,000 or so. As I'm still.
You haven't done all the math.
I'm still
Fine.
making payments.
How much are you owed?
I have it there. 26. The whole breakdown is.
And
the amount was $29.12 minus the $300.
You say he gave you $300, not $140.
Correct.
Okay.
He cashed at me $300.
My question is that at $16 an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is what you would have made.
Correct.
Do you have any other evidence to support the fact that he was helping you, or that he agreed that this money was due and owed to you?
I have the email here where he was asking me to send a total of hours what he owed me.
Yeah, I see that, Kevin, please.
And then this is also the payment that he did pay me the $300.
Well, this is from you.
Yeah, he asked me to send that to him because he kept acting.
No, but this is from you to him.
Correct.
Can I see your answer to this when she sends you this document?
I don't have that email.
Well,
and
do you have it?
I'm not sure if there's an answer. I can check my phone.
No. Okay. Now, in March, Miss Gallen, where's my money? You know, I'm taking care of your mom. There's no money. What does he say?
He kept blaming it on IHS. He needed to talk to them, and IHS just kept responding to me and was just like, he's crazy. I don't know why he keep reaching out to us. We keep repeating the same thing.
He said he never
has to
filled
pay
out
you.
forms.
Also, this is the contract that he signed stating that I am the IHS provider. If there's any extra fees that was over the hours that were allowed for her, that he would have to cover out of his pocket.
No, he said he never filled out these forms.
Well, no, that is the contract that he signed. We have to sign that with IHS first to approve me even being the worker for his mom. So once they approved me and I went through orientation, he signed that he would be responsible for the hours. I kind of marked it on there where it states that this is the contract and this is what comes with it. Also, here are the timesheets I submitted.
Okay. Not necessary. He acknowledges that he didn't pay you any more than, he says 100, you said 3, that's actually in your favor. $2,612. I suggest you take it out of the $13,000 that you received from your mother's life insurance. I'm sure she would like her caregiver paid, the one who took care of her in the last couple of months of her life. Your counterclaim, which is ridiculous, is dismissed as for the reasons I already said. The fact that the defendant may have either smoked with or allowed your mother to smoke in the last couple of years of her life is ridiculous. You know, you're the one who said to me, my mother is my mother is my mother. She'll do what she wants to do. Not something like that. Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're done. So's your counterclaim. $2,600.
This court is adjourned.
Yeah, my mom's death. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that she was taken care of. And, it's unfortunate.
I'm really happy with the decision today. I was glad that she was able to see through all the lies and everything.
The plaintiff would give her cigarettes to snatch for her so she would not overindulge herself smoking cigarettes.
Yes, I would go and get her the cigarettes because that was her last thing that she wanted, so.
At best, while taking care of my mom, she did a pretty good job with that. I've never denied that. I've also wanted her to get paid.
Just blamed it on IHHS and Just there was no really reason for him not to pay me at all.
I've been ready to put it behind me. This has been a nightmare since my mom's death and right before that. So I'm certainly glad to get it behind me.
I really did give her the best care that I could, you know. She was happy. She was very happy, so I'm okay with everything.
Cases like this are sad, but it really shines the light on the whole sector that is elder law. And there's so many federal and state programs to make the elderly and vulnerable feel more comfortable, to be able to stay in their home, to be able to pick their own provider. But unfortunately, because of all the overlap and lack of oversight, there's a lot of fraud that takes place with the most vulnerable population. And like you were just talking about, your mother is the one that you rely on for a majority of your younger years, you know, to keep you alive, bathe you, feed you. And towards the end, it's just unfortunate that they don't receive the same care as we do in the beginning.
Yeah, that not being watched as carefully by the people that they cared for.
Yeah, but the plaintiff here surprised me. I mean, working 2 months, 5 days a week.
And she stuck with the job.
For no money and no real end in sight for when she was going to be paid. I respect her for that. She obviously cares about her business and about her craft as being a healthcare worker, so I appreciate that, but it shouldn't fall on kind-hearted people like that to take care of our elderly.
Maybe. Not sure. Yeah. I think that not everybody is fortunate enough to have children.
Yeah.
If you have children that fit into that mold. And I think that it's wonderful that the state, for those people that don't have loving families to support them if they're sick or elderly, for the state to provide a mechanism for those people to get from their bed to a bathroom, to another room, to a meal, perhaps. I think it's wonderful. I think that this country, Sarah, can't do everything. And I know that we discussed a moment ago, not bringing in another case, but to me, when you don't give money to somebody who did work in the betterance of society, and you send stimulus money to prisoners who were there because they did something wrong, and you send $1.2 billion in stimulus money to people who are serving life terms in prison, to me, doesn't make sense.